Travis from the pocket, long looping throw, and the man again. Keon Coleman has a hat trick in his first game with Florida State.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Waters inside the 10. Waters making a house call with the exclamation point on this one. 36-yard touchdown.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Penix bobbles the snap, regains into the end zone. Touchdown, Jalen McMillan.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Trying to cut into this lead. A crucial play for the Gator offense. Mertz pump fakes, back pedals, running out of time, and they get him again. And Jonah Ellis has made a huge impact.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Third down, Morris. Intercepted, wow! Travis Hunter. Unbelievable!
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
2nd and 11 coming up. Wigman looks back the other way, taking a shot. Touchdown, what a grab, Thomas! And a gritty for the city.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on a Thursday. There are a couple of games in college football. Kansas will be the first team on the from the Big 12 on the clock tomorrow night when they play Illinois, and Jalen Daniels apparently back for that game. We mentioned that earlier this week, and that appears to be what is trending too. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for your time today, and a lot to get to. And by the way, in just a little bit, we will put a link up in the chat room, which is going to be straight up, you make picks, and it's with the Big 12 games. Not every one of them, because the service we're using, thanks to Christian McCollum, will not have, I think it's like some of the levels of the FCS. But we will have the games. It will be straight up who has the best record. The computer will spit out the winner if there's any kind of tie based on, I think it's the entry time or whatever Christian has put together. So you could have, let's say, 8 people that go 12-0. The computer will spit out the winner, and you get a $100 gift card from Texas Beef House. We'll have that. Paul will put that up there, and we'll tell you when we're going to do that.
Yeah. I wonder how many people would have gotten Texas State over Baylor last week. Or, I think a lot of them, the other ones went about how you would expect, like Wyoming over Texas Tech. I think that probably would have been more likely than the Texas State pick. But, yeah, it seems like that first week would have been easier. There were a couple of gotchas, and this week the schedule is way more up in the air. There's a lot of really good games around the Big 12 to pick, so cool that we have that.
I don't know. I know I would have missed Tech and Wyoming. I would have missed Texas Tech and Baylor, and there might have been one or two others. I think for the most part,
UTSA,
I did miss that one, so just keep naming a game, and I probably missed it. By the way, up on the board over here, you cannot see it, where Paul does his the triple option. There's a line across Nebraska, Colorado, and all I see are Colorado Buffalo logos.
Yeah, no, we all picked Colorado. Actually, if you guys tune in, we do a punishment for everybody. Whoever loses each week has to do a punishment. This week, we didn't get the shirt yet, but you'll get to see it soon. Garrett will have to wear an Alabama shirt that says Roll Tide, y'all.
Nice.
That is one size too small for him.
Oh, dear God.
This week, the punishment, whoever loses has to do one segment in a porta potty.
Okay, well, first of all, we're not going to damage the equipment.
No. They'll just zoom in.
Like over in McLean?
We'll just send him over to the honey bucket over here.
It's a hazing scandal.
Given that it's going to be
blah, blah, blah.
106 tomorrow, that would be a really great time to go ahead and record that segment.
I played golf this morning, and I played the worst round of golf I've played probably in 10 or 12 years, and it Started out, it was okay, but really the last 4 or 5 holes was just like I was wearing some kind of a fur coat. It was just disgusting of how warm. But we got another couple through 3 days of that, and then it kind of calms down a little bit starting, we think, next week.
Yeah, no, Monday or Sunday, I think we're finally about to break like the 100-degree part of the season, which if you know how Texas has been, I know a lot of the country's been like this too, but man, it's been brutal. It's been absolutely brutal. We had like a reprieve where it was 98 one day, and everybody's like, it feels like 72 outside, but it's supposed to be like 106 tomorrow, and then I think like 102 or 103 on Saturday. So Utes fans that travel, who we need to talk about at some point, I get the sense that they're kind of bummed out that this game is not like getting hyped up, and there's not a lot of excitement because of Baylor's result. But for those that are traveling or still excited about the game, you're still going to get a little taste of the heat. You're going to just miss out on the cool streak, so to speak. But yeah, it should still be a really fun game and atmosphere.
Ross Dellinger, by the way, SI.com, wrote an article on the backstory of the SMU finding a way to get involved in the ACC and also how close. And we had Rick Hart, the AD, on yesterday evening. It's a great article if you haven't read it. One of the boosters, he's an oilman, was the one that pretty much put up $200 million and flew all over the country. It's a great article. It's at Yahoo now. He's at Yahoo now. Yahoo Sports, Ross Dellinger, with the article on SMU and the backstory. Now, a couple of stories about stadiums and sellouts. We know that it's full throttle momentum in Boulder, Colorado. They had a huge number in their opening win against TCU on the road. Here is the number. This is from Brian Howell, who will join us a little bit later on today in the 5 o'clock hour. Colorado has now announced that home games against Colorado State and USC have sold out. Nebraska and Stanford had previously sold out. That's 4 sellouts, the most in one season since '96, and that's when the Big 12 began. The Buffaloes had sold out just 5 of 95 home games, not counting 2020. From 2006 to 2022, the money keeps coming in.
Wow. And good for Colorado, and that's why you hire Deion Sanders. More than anything, you hire Deion Sanders to get butts in the seats and then see what happens after that. Because the first problem you have when you're not winning is nobody's going to the games. So you have to figure out a way before you can regularly start winning to get people excited and think you might start winning. If that game was 45-42 TCU, I think that it's still probably the same way. Now, if it was 42-7 TCU, people might be like, well, Deion, prove it to me. But clearly that's not the case there. The hype train is rolling at Colorado, and good. I wish everybody sold out every game across the country because going to see live sports is fun and important. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. There's, a lot of buzz around them right now, and Deion's cool for a lot of people, and they're, not even necessarily Colorado fans. They're now Colorado fans just simply because of him. So, yeah, their fan base has grown by leaps and bounds just merely by his hire, and now even more so, people love winners. And so I'm sure there were some that maybe were teetering that are firmly on the bandwagon now after the win last week. So I think you're just going to see more of that. They beat Nebraska. That'll just be more and more. We'll have another couple games sold out and, on pace to have them all sold out here in a couple of weeks. But, yeah, I mean, they've got to keep doing it and see how high they can take it. You turn around, you lose to Nebraska, they'll still have a lot of momentum, and there'll still be a lot of good vibes around there, I'm sure, but it's not quite the same as winning. They won last week, and they got all the benefits from that, and we'll see how far they can take that. I think they should be favored over Nebraska, and then they'd be favored in their next, game as well against Colorado State, and then you get the Oregon-USC back-to-back games. So we're going to see a lot of Deion and the Buffs and, a lot of the attention here in this, next month. And they're going to have some big-time opponents with some big-time opportunities, and they took advantage of the first one. Let's see what they can do with the rest. But if they go, 3-1 in those games, or even 4-0. I mean, my gosh, I can't even imagine what the hype is going to be like at that point.
We're going to get to Tulane in a second. Not yet, Garrett. But this is, remember, from Rick George when they hired Deion Sanders. We don't have the money yet, but I know we'll have it, so I'm not worried about that piece as far as the amount of money that they committed to pay Deion Sanders to be their head coach. That now, of course, is not an issue.
Well, look, they've got some more TV revenue coming. They're getting a bump, a raise. I mean, it wasn't much, but they're getting a bump from the Big 12 when they come in next year. So some of that money is going to go to Mr. Sanders. Jacob, you walked right past it.
Right, it's right there on the floor. All right,
it's a snake. It would have bit you. But yeah, no, they'll get it. They'll get it. And then corporate sponsors alone, to me, on what's probably coming to Colorado with the possibility to get involved in Deion Sanders, like you don't. And I'm not knocking anybody who does this because it's how you have to make money. But with a guy who's as famous as Deion, your athletic department can get big contracts. And, like, you don't go to your local Toyota dealer. You can go to actual Toyota and say, hey, how'd you like Deion as the pitch man? Not like, hey, the, local area Toyota dealers all come together and Deion does a commercial for them. No, you can go even bigger and get probably bigger money than just the inside Colorado money on some of those things.
All right, to Tulane, they're hosting Ole Miss this week, and here's a note from Tulane. They put this out. Their game, again, sold out stadium on national television. Tulane Yulman Stadium will be rocking on Saturday. That's an interesting, intriguing game. Tulane beat USC, remember, in the bowl game and the Cotton Bowl. And now here they are with the game at home against Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. You wonder that when Mississippi, and I don't know when that game was scheduled, a couple of years ago, maybe longer, if they understood. And it's a great test for Ole Miss where Tulane might be football-wise. Of course, they are a very dangerous team right now, too.
Yeah, I don't think they thought, they'll have come off the Cotton Bowl and beating USC when they scheduled Tulane. Yeah, I don't think that was probably in the cards, but I'm sure they had respect for, Tulane, and it makes sense just because of where they are in history and whatnot. But, yeah, I highly doubt that they had that in the cards whenever they ever set that up, even if it was somewhat recently, knowing how the schedules have had to kind of, mutate and evolve around all the different changes going on. So, yeah, that's a fun matchup this weekend. I mean, definitely a much better schedule in general this weekend than there was last weekend. We had a couple spotty, big-time games, but, it was really a handful, if even that were oh, wow, these games are, big-time. And this week there's a bunch more, so a whole lot more. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
A perfect cracker, by the way, reminded us, let's not forget that Tulane also beat Kansas State last year, which they did. Early in the season in a non-conference game. So there's that. Tonight there's one game. It's Murray State at Louisville. Tomorrow night, the Kansas game at home against Illinois. Indiana will host Indiana State. And then there's the Dabo Swinney on the Clemson offense. This is something that our group, this was thrown around last night in our group text, saying he loved what he saw from the offense outside of a few mistakes, and they did have some red zone mistakes. If we do what we did offensively for the rest of the year, we won't lose another game. It's just that simple.
This is bananas coach speak. Absolutely. Look, compare that to what the linebacker from TCU said the other day, where he realistically said, I think I don't think TCU's a laughing stock, but, he grabbed the bull by the horns and said, we're pissed off that we lost and that, we don't like the way that we've been perceived these last two games, especially after everything that's been accomplished here. And then you got Dabo Swinney. He's like, look, we only scored 7 points, turned the ball over a bunch, don't have any playmakers that can separate, but don't worry about it. It's fine. What you're seeing is not what's really happening. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's absolute coach speak nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they only scored 7 points. So it's hard, even with the red zone turnovers or whatever mistakes you want to point out, to sit there and say that they're on the right track based on that. Even an offense that has some issues is still going to put up more than 7 points, right, in a given game, especially one that's been – where they've been in the recruiting rankings, where they've been just, in terms of exposure and all of those things. They've had a tremendous amount of success. I think the scary part is, even if he believes that that's scary, but even if you want to try to put on the most orange-colored glasses, orange and purple-colored glasses, and see we could have really had 21 or 28 if things go well. That you're at this point where you're defending the 3-touchdown Duke loss and saying that everything's okay after you scored 7 points is just a big fat alarm to me that this thing is not where it's supposed to be, and now not really heading in the direction it's supposed to be. And I don't know how you could even, the most positive sunshine pumper of the Clemson brand could sit there and go, yeah, that was acceptable what we saw in that opener. So, yeah, very, very strange. It's kind of a strange feel around them right now. I don't know. It's weird because they can still go out and win 10 or 11 games. It just won't be as sexy as it used to be when they were, winning every game but maybe one or winning them all. And, they're still a lot better, farther along than most programs. But it just some of the stuff he said recently, and I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It just seems strange.
Yeah, on the schedule, he still has and look, this is just leaving out the unranked teams that might be ranked by the time they play them. But FSU in 2 weeks, they've got Notre Dame on November 4th and North Carolina on November 18th. If they play offensively how they played against Duke, they won't beat any of those three teams. If those three teams play offensively how they did in their first games. So the logic that works for you has to work for everybody else, right? So you can't just say like, well, we're going to do this and they're not going to do this. Like, you have to, if you're using that, you do that. Not to mention, we don't know much about Wake Forest yet, but they're always a tough out. We don't know much about Miami yet, but they might be improved. I mean, they thumped the other Miami this week. We'll see how much better they are against Texas A&M and South Carolina, who, has offensive line issues clearly, but still has a pretty good quarterback and beat them last year. So
let me tell you something. We all overreact to the first game.
Yeah, for sure. There's part of that.
And Clemson could come back, and who knows. But there was. I didn't watch that like constantly because Monday nights for me after the show is full of doing so much more to get ready through the rest of the week. But I had it on, and yeah, they made some mistakes in the red zone, and unfortunately for them, now their entire fan base is like. By the way, speaking of which, Baylor fans are angry. They're angry because of a lot of things, and because then you lose, then you're angry about some other things too. Mac Rhodes is going to join us today a little bit after 5 o'clock for the second time this week, and we'll discuss a few things with him here on 365 Sports. We also have Brian Howell, who covers Colorado at 5. Craig's off the radar. Paul's top 5. We'll have Taylor McCarg, ESPN at 4:30. And Josh Newman covers Utah straight up. He'll be on today with us at 3:45. And then there's this from John Wilner, San Jose Mercury News in the Wilner hotline. Oregon State and Washington State asked for clarity on the Pac-12 governance and financial matters a month ago. They are still waiting for, apparently, any kind of reply.
I would think that they are going to continue to wait until there is some sort of legal ramification for that. So until the lawyers make some sort of, hey, let's get this settled, they're going to continue to wait. Because I don't think there's motivation from everybody else, the other teams that are leaving, to do anything for them, which is unfortunate for those two schools who, much like, SMU, Houston, Rice, and TCU, when the Big 12 formed, the SWC fell apart. The realignment death wheel spun to them. So it is not something that is going to be easy for them to deal with. But I don't, and this is a long time ago, but I don't remember the Big 12 schools looking back and going, hey, we want to make sure that you guys are dealt with expediently. It was kind of like, well, we don't have to worry about you anymore.
Well, I mean, it's just very on brand. And, Labor Day was, this week, so everything's delayed. Those holidays really get the Pac-12 and push things back. Yeah. So that's just natural. And like I said, not surprising, very on brand for them to not have that ready to go. But, yeah, I continue to feel for Oregon State and Washington State. I hope that they can get the answers they need quickly. I know that this has got to be a real pain being in limbo like they have been the last few weeks. And that's just sort of like now just kind of gone on, and people are kind of on to football now, right? I mean, the ACC thing was like a big deal for like a hot minute, and then it just kind of happened, and now we've all moved on, right? We're just like, it's on to football, and there's something that's unresolved, and that is these two teams. These two teams don't know where they're playing next year yet. They don't know the financial, they don't know a lot of things right now, and they're also having to go and play football and act as though it's business as usual. Fortunately, especially for Oregon State, you got a pretty good football team, and we'll see for both of them along the way in a very fun league. But I feel for them, and hopefully they get some answers soon. But you're asking the same conference who was the king of delays and, had as much time as possible to get something done and even needed more time and still couldn't get it done. So I don't think that they're going to be, expedient in getting that information on over.
So there we are with that. And, again, that's still there, and who knows the lingering of what happens with those two who are both pretty good football teams and have a chance, again, to win this week, although Washington State-Wisconsin is a pretty juicy game. No doubt about it. By the way, on Saturday at 9 o'clock, we'll be on here, 365 Sports with the Baylor-Utah pregame, 9 o'clock pregame on Saturday. It will be on the local CBS affiliate on KWTX.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really need to probably add on to that, but what the hell is going on over there? Like, what is Kliavkoff doing? Like, what has been the operations of that thing for the last year plus? I don't understand it.
Well, now that he's not working on a media deal, what is he doing? Oregon State and Washington State are the only two schools he has to regularly deal with. They're the only schools that he's working for now, technically.
There was part of me that wondered why he was at the college football playoff meetings as a commissioner of the conference.
I don't know that
technically
they're
involved.
technically involved, but and now that the media deal's off the table, which is, we don't even really know how much that they were working on that, considering they had many offers to it. So outside of that, shouldn't he be able to answer those questions or get to everybody? Or is everybody just, George calls and you're like, well, I don't have to answer that now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some legal thing that's part of it, It's not always as probably black and white as it seems. So, maybe there's some reason as to why. I give the benefit of the doubt more often than not. But, yeah, I mean, it's very on brand, like I said, and that's probably the best way to sum it up. But it just sucks for those schools. The whole situation sucks for them, and it's just going to kind of continue that way until there's some answers. But, while it appears that maybe some conference answers will be coming soon, can't bank on the Pac-12 getting anything done right when you want them to. So hopefully that doesn't linger too much longer.
All right, so here we go. A little bit later in this hour, Josh Newman, who covers Utah for KSL.com, he will join us. There's some thoughts about what's next, and a couple of different things. There's a couple of over-unders. Who will score more points on Saturday, Oregon or Utah? And who has the most must-win? And I know it's non-conference USA right now, but which team in the Big 12, in your opinion, faces they need a win?
I think if either Baylor or Tech or 0-2, I don't know if I can outweigh the scales of that. That's really bad and not what they wanted going forward, because 0-2, really to not even for the conference race, but just where you're going to wind up in the postseason if you make it there. It gets worse and worse as the more losses you have. But I think Oregon's going to score more points than Utah. I think that Tech and Oregon game is going to be a ridiculous shootout, and I think Oregon has shown a little bit more ability. I mean, you saw it last week against Florida. When they're in control, they can just sit on the ball, and when you try to get aggressive with them, they can just clap you back a little bit.
Well, one coach is on the hot seat, so I could vote for that team that needs to get a win. Tech's not firing Joey McGuire anytime soon. Baylor fans, I think you poll them right now, it's 50-50 or 51-49 on what they would like to see done. And I think if you poll on who likes Dave Aranda, it's 95-5 that everybody likes him, because there's just some grouches that, they still want the guy from a decade ago. But, besides that, I think that most everybody is rooting for him to be successful, but also looking at the whole grand scheme of things, you can't just keep, spinning your wheels. And it just feels like that's what they've kind of been doing now for over a year. And for that reason, I think that, Baylor needs a win much more so than Texas Tech needs a win. Now, look, if Tech goes 0-2, then that's going to be something. But, Mack Rhodes was on these airways, and he was vouching for Dave Aranda, and I don't think he was giving him the dreaded vote of confidence necessarily, although if you want to read it that way, you could. But Cody Carlson, Texas Tech's big donor, put out like a page-long message board post basically backing Joey and telling him like, hey, we've invested everything we can invest, and we've done everything we can do. We just need to trust the process. Basically, was his message to Texas Tech fans. So I think that, you at least look at we were on the road, tough, weird place to play, late Saturday, and you lost in double overtime. Okay, you were dominating that game in the first half. You lost in double overtime. Are there concerns? Absolutely. Baylor, they trailed like the entire game. At home.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, at 6 o'clock, there was no reason for them to look as bad as they did. I don't care what the reasons that are given are. There's no reasons that justify that fully. So, again, I think I've laid it out pretty clear from, why I think that. And I think, it's very clearly Baylor. As far as the points scored go, I know Oregon's going to score points because I know Tech's defense still has some issues, but I don't know what to expect from the Baylor-Utah game. Like, I know Utah's going to win this game. That I feel good about. Although there's a part of me that's like, man, just everything given the last week, like, could Baylor, puff their chest up and make this interesting? I definitely think that they could, but I'm just so confused by what we saw last week that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to expect, really. So I guess I'll go.
Well, you know why? This is what I expect. And you're right. Who knows how you respond?
I'll go Utah is going to score more points, but, I mean, that Tech-Oregon game is set up for both sides to score a bunch of points.
45 or something like that.
So I'll go Utah, but I'm not really confident in that. Not nearly as confident as I'm 100% on the who needs to win more.
Paul, who scores more points?
I think Oregon does, just because of the nature of what that game is going to be. It's just going to be like ping pong. Like, so
damn, that sounded pretty good.
Yeah, that's how it's going to look, and I don't even think that's an indictment necessarily on Oregon or Texas Tech defense in the long run.
Right.
And we'll see how they are. It's just there are certain teams and matchups that just led themselves to that kind of a game, and I do like it. That game feels to me, like TCU Colorado last week, where look, whoever makes the 2 or 3 key defensive plays at moments is going to win by a score. I really do, and or maybe 2. I don't think it's going to be out of hand. I just think that if you can make, like in the TCU Colorado game, 2 interceptions in the red zone, that's really what swung the game to Colorado.
Yeah.
TCU didn't make those kind of plays when they had to. If Tech or Oregon make those kind of plays in Lubbock on Saturday night, that's what's going to swing the game and what's going to be a shootout, because there's going to be so much crazy atmosphere there in Lubbock that, some of that, like, Oregon, confidence that they're rolling off of 81 points against a nobody, will just go away, because there's going to be, drunk Red Raiders hurling tortillas all over the place. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, I think that game lends itself to more points being scored. So that's probably the correct point. I think the numbers probably point to that being the case. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking if, certainly that's a nice little side assist, I guess weapons-wise that Tech has at its disposal is that crowd and is the atmosphere, and I do think that that's going to come into play. But that's a fascinating game, because if you get beat convincingly, like in that game, like let's not be stupid and talk hot seats and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, after the offseason they just had, if you start off 0-2 and that loss to Oregon is not like a close game where you're like, okay, at least you're right there, then I think you start to get a little nervous as a Tech fan of what that's going to turn into over the long haul of the season. But yeah, I think obviously that's a much different scenario than what's going on in Waco right now.
Yeah, no, it is, and maybe the question should have been who wins. If Oregon and also Utah win, who wins by more points? And the reason you may want to say Utah, that's the way it looks set up, but they're not a team that goes out and put 50 points on a board. They're not they go out and grind you like freaking sawdust, and they don't make mistakes. They're plus. By the way, their turnover ratio last year was +6. It wasn't like +12. Baylor's was -2. Baylor, I think, won the turnover battle. Did they not on Saturday, 2-1, and still couldn't convert with the ones that they got?
If Utah scores 50 points against anybody, that team, that means that they had, 5 50-yard touchdown runs on counter plays that just broke open.
You mean like the one TJ Finley scored on from the
just saying, like, okay,
yeah.
well, that's possible.
I mean, like those things, but that's what not that he doesn't go out trying to score 50, but Kyle Whittingham knows that based on his game plan, that if he gets to, last week 24 against Florida was going to be insurmountable. If he gets to 35 against Baylor, he's going to feel pretty confident. You know, he knows most weeks with the defense that he has that if he's at 31 or more, he's going to win the game. So he doesn't necessarily have to think like, man, we got to score 7 touchdowns in this one. Now, look, when they play USC, Oregon, Colorado, I mean, who they play in the Pac-12, there might be some games where he's got to get in that shootout mode, but early on in the season for Utah, he knows that defense is good enough to where you get them in the 30s, they're probably going to win a game.
Paxton says the Oregon Tech game is 68.5. 68.5 is the over on that game.
I'll bang the over on that.
Over-under.
Yeah.
40, that just looks like it's 45-40, something like that. We'll see, unless it just gets complete. And even if somebody jumps out to a lead, if Oregon gets out to a big lead or whoever, both teams are going to put up some points, you would think. Get ready in a minute when we come back. We will put out the link for you and your chance to win the $100 gift card from TexasBeefHouse.com. Thanks to Kim, who I believe is flying into Lubbock for the game, in fact, that we're talking about between Texas Tech and also Oregon. We will come back with that. This is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, I'll be there on Monday morning. I've told you about me playing catch-up when it comes to my dental work. I've had so much done. And so last night, I'm on my way home, and I put one of those little tiny mints in my mouth just to kind of freshen up my mouth. And then all of a sudden, my back left molar, which has been something that is on the radar to get fixed, it cracked. There's just sore. I just took a couple of Tylenol, and it's sore, and now I've got to get that fixed. But that was going to have to get fixed anyway, so instead of waiting, now I got to have that done sometime on Monday morning. I've already got an appointment. I called them earlier today, and I'll have that appointment on Monday at 9:30. Dr. Steve Childress will take care of it. It probably won't be very comfortable because, again, I waited too long to get a lot of what I had damaged because of bad habits with lozenges and much more sugar that has eaten away at some of my dental work. But, man, I still feel good about it. And you know what I would have done before? I wouldn't have called the dentist. A few years ago, I would not have called the dentist. I would have waited, and then God knows what would have happened with the tooth that's now cracked or the one next to it or my gums or what. That is what Dr. Steve Childress has taught me and learned. You have to take care of dental work when it hurts, and you have to do it beforehand so it doesn't. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
During Jeep Adventure Days, Alan Samuels in Waco is celebrating with an incredible line of 2023 models like the Grand Cherokee, Renegade, Wrangler, and Gladiator. Come see what Alan Samuels can offer you and your family and find the Jeep SUV that fits your lifestyle.
Looking to connect with Baylor alums in your area? Baylor alumni can help. Looking to host a watch party in your city? Baylor alumni can get you started. Want to step out in your community and serve with other alums? Baylor alumni is your connection with the university and each other. Let's get started. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Pioneer Steel and Pipe opened their doors in 1943, and they have never wavered with their focus on great product and customer service, relationships with a handshake, making sure you, the customer, is satisfied. Their new facility is now twice the size, allowing new inventory, higher quantities, and in a much more organized fashion. In addition to the long lengths in tubing, angles, channels, rods, and flat, Pioneer Steel and Pipe now offers several shorter, more convenient lengths of material already cut. Their 2,500 square foot showroom has over 1,000 new products in stock, new welding supplies, hardware, quickcrete, and do-it-yourself components for any project, whether you are a professional contractor or weekend warrior. The new facility is designed to make your loading experience faster and more efficient with easy drive lanes around the building and much more room to get your trailer loaded. Our location may have changed, but our values haven't, and our relationship with customers goes much farther than just business. Pioneer Steel and Pipe on Loop 340 and Highway 6 and just east of I-35 in Waco.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Hey, Billy Bird just gave us his predictions on the games this week. He has Utah beating Baylor by 11, Bama beating Texas by 14, Miami beating A&M by a point, Oregon by 9, and a shootout 50-41 in Colorado 42, Nebraska 28. Now, speaking of that, TexasBeefHouse.com, thanks to the kindness and caring of Kim Coulter, he bought 15 $100 gift cards, $100 gift cards from TexasBeefHouse.com, Wagyu beef, farm-raised right there in East Texas. And last week we gave it away. We had a poll of who you liked the most or your favorite personality. A retired stockbroker won that. Chris did. That's his name. But now, here's what we have for this week. Paul just put up the link. Grab it now. Paul just put up the link in the chat room. You click on the link. Thanks to Christian McCollum, who also, by the way, is an analyst who follows and also covers Notre Dame football. Here are the games from the Big 12. It's scrolling. Thank you, Garrett. On the screen. Are you doing that, Paul?
No.
On the screen. You just straight up pick the games. Every game counts one. At some point, we'll have a week where I'm going to try to see if Christian can say, there's 12 games and you pick one game that's 12 points, one game that's 11 points. We'll have more separation. So it's on the chat room screen. Click it now. You have until Kansas kicks off tomorrow in their game against Illinois, which is one of the harder games to pick. Click it. Make your picks. Make sure you fill out all the information. It's not very difficult. And the winner, straight up, the computer will tell us if there's a tie, they will spit out a winner. And we will announce it on Monday and win a $100 gift card.
I just pinned it.
There you go, Paul. Thank you. All right, so there we go with that. And so that's straight up every Big 12 games. I think there's a couple of games like Nicholls State and a couple of other schools that will not register in that particular promotion. I think TCU's playing them or whoever, but
it's not Nicholls State, by the way. It's just Nicholls.
Nicholls now, okay. That doesn't show up. That won't be a part of it, but there's still, I think, 12 games within the Big 12 that you can pick. So good luck with that. We want to give away the $100 gift card. We will, thanks to Aaron Duvall and his family at TexasBeefHouse.com. Here's a note from Jim Williams, and this is on that stalemate between Spectrum.
Oh, it is Nicholls State. I swear I was looking at it yesterday. It's TCU Nicholls is what I saw, but it's Nicholls State. My bad.
That's okay. I'm a Southland Conference. Because
I noted it. I was like, oh, it's just Nicholls now. I said that in my head. I remember it vividly yesterday, and then I look again. It's like, no, it's Nicholls State. So, anyways.
This is from media consultant Jim Williams. This is straight to me. Text me. Go, Smokey, Spectrum makes more money on broadband than they do through programming. And by the way, Sling has a sports hub where you can follow all sports going from one channel to another. So there you have the options.
Yeah.
So you're going to come over and win.
To what? To
help me with Sling.
No. No. That's actually a different punishment for the for the pick'ems.
Someone has to ask me for technological advice.
Yes, that Smoky Geek Squad is the punishment, and we get to videotape that, and they see how long it gets before they get mad and yell at you. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not a Spectrum subscriber. I'm a DirecTV guy. I don't know what I'm going to do long term. Part of it is I don't get to make that decision on my own anymore. I have someone who enjoys the package and system that we have. So if she's on board, then I'll change to whatever she's happy with. But yeah, I think that the broadband thing is huge because they have that to fall back on, but they don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul and have to take money out of their kitty to make cable work anymore. And what Spectrum is trying to do, this battle between Spectrum and Disney, like it's really weird because it's, to me, when you watch these big corporate titans fight, and you kind of have to pick a side, or it doesn't really matter. Like, we all lose in the long run. They're all going to get our money somehow. I mean, it's like if the Joker and the Penguin are fighting, what does Batman do? I mean, he just sits back and is like, I don't know what's better for me here. That's how I feel about it. And in this scenario, we, the consumer, are Batman.
No, you're right. Yeah, and you wonder how many Batman are going to be just like fed up with it. You know, it's been going on for now a week tonight, right? It started on Thursday night of last week. Someone said, hey, by the way, just in case, and thanks for the advice, that the YouTube TV says YouTube TV is much better than Sling. So thank you very much for that. I really get mixed up. Here's Joey B, YouTube TV, new fan here, love it. Thank you very much, Joey B, for being a part of the show. Eric Nefron, those potable T-Mobile units are $55 a month. I've been satisfied.
Portable, I would think portable.
He changed it to portable. Yeah, otherwise it'd be like Garrett in the porta potty having to make a prediction or a show.
Are y'all going to do like Jackass, that prank where they locked Steve-O in the porta potty and then like slingshotted him and it went up and then all of it came back down when he came down?
I don't have the budget, so
okay,
no.
Come on, Brian Colton Ashley, get that together.
Yeah.
I can see that right across the big doo-doo slingshot right across the street from McLean Stadium with Garrett locked in there. Yeah. But if you haven't seen that, it's on another level. So yeah, that's not going to be that bad. But.
No, it's just going to have to be in there doing on the segment, just AirPods in on FaceTime and deal with it. So here's the thing: Jack, Garrett, and I have the same picks this week. So if we all come in last, then there's going to be a tiebreaker to see who winds up in there. So.
Cannot believe that. But I can't wait to see who has to do that. We might play it on this show. Promote each other. All right, when we come back, Josh Newman, he covers Utah for KSL.com. He contributes, a contributor for them. We had him on back in the day, remember, when we were wondering about what happens with the Pac-12 and who else is going to join the Big 12. And it was, I think, the day before maybe all hell broke loose. Josh Newman and more. This is 365 Sports. The city of Woodway, discover Woodway.com, and they have that wine tasting event that's coming up just around the corner. In fact, it is coming up this weekend. Woodway Wine and Food Fest, that is coming up this Saturday, 6 until 8:30, $35 a ticket. If you want, you can go to discoverwoodway.com for the Woodway Wine and Fest information. It's going to be at the Pavilion at the Arboretum. A diverse array of wine, culinary creations, and a night of music. Space Limited provides 8 wine samples, 12 wines to choose from, small bite samples from the local esteemed restaurants, and more. And so there's that coming up, in fact, on Saturday this weekend. There's the Woodway Farmers Market, which is just around the corner. They'll do that both in September and I think eventually in October as well, where you can join them every month. Woodway Farmers Market. It's Sunday morning from 10 until 1 o'clock at the Carling Bright Arboretum. And don't forget, in October, around the corner, what a nice event, the Father and Son Cookout on October 21st from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Grandfathers, fathers, and sons, all of that, the event, first annual that they're doing that, the Cookout, October 21st. For more information, and if you're looking for a hotel when you come into Waco to see the Silos, the Magnolia, Balcones, a Baylor game, or just coming in town, they have hotels as well in Woodway. DiscoverWoodway.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. And if you can't make it to Riverbend, DoorDash is available to bring it to you. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Josh Newman has been someone we've spoken with before, back when Utah was still at least a part of the Pac-12, which they are, but eventually, of course, the Big 12. He joins us, contributor to KSL.com, covering the Utes. And Josh, thanks for your time with Craig and David and also with Paul Catalina. So what was the overall reaction with Bryson Barnes and his performance playing instead of Cam Rising because of his rehabilitation and also comeback?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that the month of August and training camp went with Rising and how especially the end of the month kind of came about with Rising as a limited participant in practice, I think those of us covering Utah were not surprised, right, that Rising could not go and that Bryson Barnes did start. I think the surprising part was, you know, with a quarterback like Barnes, I think a lot of us thought that they would be a lot more conservative with their play calling. So, of course, right, first play of the season, Barnes dropped back and he dropped a 70-yard touchdown pass into Money Parks. You know, that set the tone in the opener, and Utah kind of cruised from there. I mean, look, Bryson Barnes, you know, he did not put up gaudy numbers, right? I don't have it right in front of me. I think it was like 12 of 16 for 159 and the touchdown pass, but he did what he was asked to do. Take care of the ball, don't make mistakes, make a few throws, right? Not a ton, but third down or second and long, second and manageable. You got to be able to make a throw, and he did. So all of that said, you take Bryson Barnes, the way he played against Florida, you come out of that game optimistic. I think going against this Baylor team, you're still asking him to, again, take care of the ball, don't make mistakes, but you're going to have to get a little bit more out of Bryson Barnes, not to mention a little bit more out of the running game if you're going to get out of Waco with a win on Saturday, I think.
Josh, does it maybe scare Utah a little bit that Baylor is coming off a loss and painted into a bit of a corner?
I wouldn't especially say that. I mean, I thought that Kyle Whittingham, right, the head coach of Utah, I thought he made his point Monday that, week one in college football is often a mirage, right? Teams are not as bad as they seem. Teams are not as good as they seem. The expectation walking in there Saturday is that you're not going to see the same team that lost to Texas State. You're not going to see the same Baylor team, right, whose offensive line got beat up. I don't know if there's, fear or a sense of urgency, but, I do think that they're walking in there with a pretty firm understanding that they're not going to see the same team that lost to Texas State.
Josh, what is the latest? I know that it's still, very much unknown, but on Cam Rising, obviously, and Brant Keithy as well. Where is that latest news on their injuries?
Yeah, so the situation with Rising is he was actually completely cleared last Wednesday, which was obviously too late to, get him on board to play a game on Thursday. So where we are with Rising is he is fully cleared. He is going through practice, no limitations, 11 on 11 live, the whole thing. And it's essentially an onboarding process, right? Going through practice, making sure that surgically repaired knee can handle practice, can handle the grind, that he can do everything that he wants to do. Rising will travel with the team to Texas. And I think what you're looking at right now is he'll travel. They will see if he can go Saturday, okay? They are not ruling out Rising. They will see if he can go. And if he can't, it'll be Bryson Barnes again. I would not rule out Rising. The thing with Keithy right now, Keithy, like Rising, is coming back from a torn ACL, but it's been a much slower process for Keithy despite suffering his injury 3 months earlier. So, Kyle Whittingham does not generally come out and talk about injuries, but he will often say enough. And if you kind of read between the lines, he will lead you down the path of what's happening. Kyle will not say anything about Brant Keithy right now, which leads me to believe that we're not going to see Keithy on Saturday. I think we're at least another week from seeing Keithy, maybe up to 2 more weeks. But again, he's not officially ruled out for Baylor. It just seems unlikely that he'll go at this point.
So with Rising cleared, they wouldn't bring him in here and, Baylor, as you said, coming off the loss to Texas State, they would not start Barnes. And if Rising is needed, if he's cleared and he's traveling and he's ready to go, then he'll start, correct? I mean, I'm not saying that Whittingham has said that, but isn't that kind of the thought?
That is my thought process too. If Rising can go, he will be the starter. I don't see a situation where, if Bryson Barnes is your starter and he struggles for a quarter right. and a half, 2 quarters, then you go to Rising. No, I don't see that type of situation happening. If Rising can go, if he is cleared to play Saturday, he would be your starter. I don't see a situation where he would come in relief of Barnes.
Yeah, no. That makes all the sense in the world. Just want to clarify that.
Do you think they would, if Rising comes in, are we going to see the Cam Rising, they're going to let him do Cam Rising things, or they even have to kind of save him from himself a little bit just to make sure he really is good to go?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. Look, this is a situation where he is not stepping foot on the field unless he is fully ready, able to do the things that he does. Now, I know that's kind of cliche, and this is kind of cliche too, right? This Rising situation, this is not up to Kyle Whittingham. This is not up to Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator. It's not even up to Rising's parents, okay? This is up to the orthopedic surgeon that he saw in Los Angeles who fixed his knee in consultation with the Utah medical team. So if Rising is not able to do everything that he needs to do, he's not going to step foot on the field. That much has been made very clear to the media for the last 9 months, guys.
Josh, that obviously is a big storyline, but Utah took care of business in week one. We've addressed, sort of where Baylor is and how that's probably taken a little bit of sizzle out of this game. But just from a team standpoint, teams getting better from week to week, where do you look for Utah? I mean, Bryson Barnes did his thing, defense did their thing, but what is something that you, as someone that knows the team better than most, looking for in week number 2?
I already mentioned at the top that I think Barnes needs to do a little bit more, but more so, I think the rushing attack needs to do a lot more. Okay, Jaquindon Jackson, who is a Dallas kid, having gone to Duncanville, right, started his career at the University of Texas. He's been painted as like this number one running back. Bell cow, right? They can hand the ball to him 20, 22 times, 5 carries for 15 yards in the opener. Came limping off at one point during the second half. He is, I would label him as questionable. And there are certainly some questions in the running back room as, who is healthy, who is capable, what are you going to see? They need to get a running game going because you just, you can't put it all on Bryson Barnes. That's just not the quarterback he is. You can put everything on Rising. You cannot put everything on Bryson Barnes. So you need to have some semblance of a rushing attack, which they did not have against Florida. And let me just, kind of toss this out there. Nate Johnson, okay, who's a, kind of electric, super athletic, redshirt freshman quarterback, played a few series against Florida, had a 27-yard touchdown run. Don't be surprised if you see Nate Johnson lining up out of the Wildcat or at running back or, at wide receiver with some jet sweeps. Just, keep that in mind here as I say that the running back room is a bit banged up. Don't be surprised to see Nate Johnson running the ball some more.
Well, if they watched the Texas State tape, and I know they did, and T.J. Finley and one time scored, he was untouched. I'm sure they would probably want to run the Wildcat, at least try that quite a bit.
Yeah, and look, that's what Nate Johnson does, okay? He was, he was top 3 or top 4 in the state of California in the 100-meter dash as a senior in high school. That's what he does. He is a change-of-pace athlete, a change-of-pace quarterback. Can really do it with his legs. A pretty radical departure from what Bryson Barnes is. Okay, Bryson Barnes is a pocket quarterback who can move a little bit, but wants to stay in the pocket. Nate Johnson has no problem tucking it and going.
Josh Newman with us, contributor to KSL.com. Craig brought this up that again, it's also a future Big 12 matchup. Your thoughts about that, and does this? I'm not saying this gives them a test of what it might be a part of the Big 12, but your thoughts about the fact that they're going to play down the road.
Yeah, I actually wrote that very topic this morning for KSL.com. When this Utah-Baylor home-and-home series was agreed to 8.5 years ago, Utah was this budding Pac-12 contender who had not broken through to a Pac-12 championship game, let alone win one, as they've done the last 2 years. Baylor was in the middle, towards the end of the Art Briles era, right, when they were winning 10 games annually and going to the New Year's Six. And by the time this game is now played, Saturday's a non-conference game, but the back end of this home-and-home is going to be a conference game, right? So to answer your question, yes, I do think that from the Utah perspective, I do think that Saturday is going to be somewhat representative of what life will be like in the Big 12, right? You've got, you recruited very well. If you're Kyle Whittingham in Utah, you're big up front, you're veteran up front. This is going to be an interesting test from the standpoint of, look, you're going to be conference mates with Baylor inside of a year. So if you lose this game or you struggle or there's deficiencies, it's a good test because now you know what you have to go out and do to get more on par with these Big 12 teams. I absolutely think that this is representative and pretty important from a Utah standpoint, excuse me.
What's the vibe around it a month after the decision, now that that's all come down? Because I'm sure there was a large segment of Utah fans that believed, like many Pac-12 fans, that they'd get an immediate deal and everything would move on. And then when it all went down, it happened so fast that I would assume most of it was like, well, I guess this is what we have to do. And they were apoplectic about it across the board. But right now that it's a month out, how do they feel?
It's sort of a non-issue. At this point, obviously, mid-July, late July, into the first week of August, there was a lot of trepidation, a lot of nerves, especially once Colorado left the Pac-12 for the Big 12. Then you had Oregon and Washington, leave for the Big 10. I think, from my standpoint, I don't want to speak for anybody else. It always seemed like Utah had enough going for it that it would land in a positive spot, right? It would not be on the outside looking in like Oregon State, Washington State. So that was, dominating talk and dominating, the message boards and dominating coverage for a while. But now that we're into the season, it's really not a factor. It doesn't get brought up much. Kyle Whittingham has essentially balked at every question, every notion of the impending move. Andy Ludwig balked at a few questions. If there is one thing that people are talking about, Morgan Scalley, right, the defensive coordinator at Utah, he's had a lot of success recruiting Texas, specifically the Houston area, in the last 4, 5, 6 years. So there's a pretty significant recruiting element in play here. And we'll get into that, more down the road as Utah prepares to move to the Big 12. But again, like Saturday's game, that's another opportunity for, kids from the region, kids from the state to watch Utah, see what the future may hold. Because really, Utah, will continue to come into Texas and try to recruit. So why couldn't Saturday be, a major recruiting tool for Utah's efforts?
Josh, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Stay safe, guys.
Josh Newman, contributor to KSL.com on Utah. They play Baylor. 11 o'clock is the kick on Saturday morning at McLean Stadium.
Yeah, I just think it kind of sucks that the Texas State game turned out the way that it did, because I do think that took some air out of this, build up for this game. I think if they were both coming in 1-0 and it played well, then you'd have a little bit more oomph to this. But because I think one half of the fan base is involved is in depression mode, that, it's really just, taking some of the wind out of the sails. But, I'm sure by the time Saturday gets rolling around here, tomorrow you'll start to feel it. You'll start to see the people coming into town. And then, obviously with the early kick, tailgating will be out there early as well. And it'll all be fun and it'll all be fine. But, I'm expecting a good crowd, and I'm expecting Utah to show up and definitely, play their brand of football. And if Baylor's not ready for it, then they're going to get, smacked in the mouth. And so they're going to need to have a response, or they're going to need to be the ones that deliver the first blow. But, man, I'm just fascinated to see what that team looks like after this past week. And I'm really excited to just see Utah and know that that's going to be a team that we see pretty regularly for the next, few years, because I have a lot of respect for that program. Even if their fan base was, the enemy of the Big 12 people during a lot of that realignment saga. They had probably the most vocal, "We do not want to be with you." And then by the end of it was I was just kidding. Let's all be friends. And so this is the start of what's hopefully a beautiful journey.
Yeah, it was. It was very territorial, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad all those days are over. Doesn't mean. And when I spoke with Kyle Whittingham earlier in the week, he just said, listen, well, we're going to be a part of the Big 12, but there's still going to be another breakage or whatever he was talking about, change here between the next 2 to 5 years. He would know. When we come back, we'll get into some of what is being said today in the chat. A couple of other notes too. Also. We'll have Taylor McCarg from ESPN and his thoughts about the weekend that we saw and the weekend that we're about to see as we kind of switch gears from last week to what we have this week. And this is 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe opened their doors in 1943, and then last December they opened their doors to a bigger, better, faster, and stronger building, a facility that's loaded with brand new product, 1,000 new pieces of product, 2,500 square foot showroom. Their efficiency that they had at their old location when it comes to what you needed to go and pick up product, pipe, steel, metal, was already really good. But there were challenges, but they were always there to make sure that you got what you needed and when you needed it, so you could go do what you need to do when it's a project or something you're building. Now they have even a more efficient type of come pick up what you got, what you ordered, whether you need a trailer, if it's just small, maybe a pickup truck, or maybe it's something even larger than that, they are ready for you. More bays, better locations. The way that they have them around the building where you pick up your pipe, steel, metal, and other products is fantastic. And they got better. And they were already really good because they've been in business since 1943. that much good. PioneerBoys.com.
Cars priced right, day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
It's another time to speak with Samantha Duvall from TexasBeefHouse.com, handles the marketing, and someone that you will talk to a lot when you do call for the great product of the Texas-raised Wagyu beef. It's college football season, tailgating, it's a big deal. People love to put beef and pork and chicken, etc. on the grill. Let me know what you have.
We've got everything. If you've got a morning game, you can get our breakfast sausage or our bacon. You can tailgate with some breakfast tacos. If you've got an afternoon or evening game, we of course got our hamburger patties. They're half-pound patties, 4 patties to a package, and we even have jalapeno and cheese patties. They're amazing. They'll blow your mind. Just that extra flavor, not too spicy. They have a high heat cheese so they don't melt on the grill, and our patties don't shrink up on the grill either. Anytime you order, use our code STICK'EM10 to get 10% off your order of $100 or more.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. That's Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, the Big 12 this weekend, Texas and Alabama. Is there anything with more sizzle than that game in the conference?
In the country?
Yeah. In the country, perhaps too. Yeah.
No, I think that's going to be a game with probably 10 plus million viewers. When it's all said and done. So I think that we've seen that every 30 seconds on ESPN channels. If you've watched, that's every break. There's a Texas-Alabama promotion or commercial. So. Yeah, certainly the biggest game in the Big 12, but probably in the country. But again, it's a really busy and fun weekend as far as matchups go. But yeah, that's a huge one. Texas is one of those teams that, as bad as the Big 12 weekend was, and you had some of your potential contenders got, sharpied out immediately. Texas even though, yes, they're going to the SEC, that's next year. That is next year. So if they win a Big 12 title, or if they win a conference title, it'll be a Big 12 title. If they make it the playoff, it'll be as a Big 12 team. If they win a natty, it'll be as a Big 12 team. So they do still count, in terms of this race. And I think this is a big statement for them on their way out. I think it's a big statement on their way into the SEC. It'd be a huge win to beat Alabama for a variety of different reasons. But, yeah, I mean, it's a massive game. And, man, I'm going Alabama, but I know that there's question marks, and there's question marks on both sides. But, yeah, it's absolutely huge.
Yeah, I think that, I'm going to pick Alabama in that game. I just mostly because they're at home. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think that the home crowd will kind of buoy them a little bit. But, I'm kind of, after, and again, it's Middle Tennessee State, but – Jalen Milroe wound up at Alabama because he was an Alabama quality athlete, and he still has Alabama coaches there coaching him. And I'm guilty of this, be like, oh, well, he just maybe not be that guy. Like, well, he's got the guy who can figure it out around there. So I think that's going to be pretty fun on the Alabama offense all year with his running ability. And if his passing is improved, then, yeah, they're going to be lethal no matter what. I think Texas is going to go in there on a mission. I think, though, that the thing that worries me about Texas is that if they put a lot of eggs in this basket about this is the game where we show that we're here, then that's going to be troubling for them down the line because even though they are the favorite in the Big 12 and they might win most of the games in the Big 12, if they're in a game where they're getting punched in the gut by someone like Kansas State again, do they fall down because they put all their eggs in the Alabama basket and lost a close one again?
Well, that's up to the coaching staff to make sure that I understand this is a monstrous game. It's a huge game. But it's also just the second game. And there's a lot more after this. But go in there, whatever happens. If you win, fantastic. The hype will be extraordinary. Dion like Colorado hype because it's Texas. And if you go in there and you don't play well, that doesn't mean your season is over.
No, it doesn't mean that, but I think it would be, depending on how that unfolds, maybe cause for concern if it's the offense, not looking all that sharp. They had a big third quarter last week, but didn't finish a lot of drives probably the way that you would like to have seen. But, again, it's the first game, so, whatever. But I think this would be a big game for Quinn Ewers. He's a big-time guy, big-time player, and big-time players, big-time games, right? And so much was made about, well, if he doesn't get hurt last year, then Texas wins that game, and I think that, that's possible. It was a 20-19 game, and, he did get hurt, so here's an opportunity for him to go out and show why he's, Mr. Next Man Up in the NFL draft as a top quarterback prospect playing against the very best, and I do think it's just – I mentioned the Big 12 thing with Texas because it's just so weird that they are a Big 12 team, but because of just the angst and the fact that we're so much on, what's happening next that you already kind of like treat them as an SEC team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but this
right.
This is a big game for the Big 12 because they're still, for the rest of this year, them in Oklahoma, they're repping that brand. So for as bad as week one was, you go out and have Texas beat Alabama and have a couple, like Texas Tech beats Oregon, and I think that you suddenly feel a lot better about just sort of the state of the league as opposed to being the one that everybody kind of went, uh-oh, that was a really ugly week one. It's like we talk about why is the SEC who they are? Tradition and history and fans and all that, but because they win.
They win,
so
and they win these games.
Yes,
yeah.
They win these types of games more often than not, so I think that's important for some of those Big 12 schools, in this case Texas, to go out and make a statement themselves.
But will the Big 12 get the credit nationally?
That doesn't matter, really.
Yeah, I know. But if that's the case, then the Big 12 should get the credit for Colorado, right? I mean, it's kind of it. But there'll be a little bit of that.
No, you can't take the ones that are leaving and the ones that are coming in.
No,
but that's his point.
My point was if Texas will probably, if they win, it'll be a great win for the Big 12, even though they're on their way out the door. But I got a feeling you'll also feel like that's also like an SEC against an SEC. Yeah. And that's kind of the national narrative, and that's fine with them. Kim Coulter, sorry I'm late. I was stuck in a jet with 3/4 of the people on there filled with Oregon assistant coaches and fans. I need to wash myself off. Stop.
Well, sure. That's not the worst flight that's been going on in this country this week. I don't know if you saw the plane with the diarrhea guy.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be on the Oregon plane than that one. So, but
I saw that picture. I thought it was fake. That's real.
No, it's real.
That was real.
And I've never felt worse for one person and then all the people around him simultaneously. But like if that was me, I would never leave my house again. I would get like a job doing customer service
Yeah, like one of those, like, yeah.
Like, thank you for calling Overstock.com. This is Paul. Oh, your mattress wasn't up to your snuff. All right, no problem. That's all I would do. I probably wouldn't even change my, like, you wouldn't even know. It would be Paul because, like, hey, Paul was the
But you guys are the
guy.
ones doing the porta potty segment.
Yeah, but at least you're. It happens. At least you can. At least if something happens, you're somewhere you can do something about it.
Guck know it. I don't know exactly how Texas is going to get absolutely smoked by at least minimum 3 touchdowns. That's where my money is at.
That's why I love results, man, because if they do, then all this stuff about the hand-wringing over Jalen Milroe in the quarterback position at Alabama, if they win like that, then that means he probably played pretty well, right? Or somebody else did, and then that shifts the focus over there. It pops the bubble of Texas and, the thoughts that they might be on a run to the playoff. Not that it eliminates that, but it gives them very little leeway. So, one way or the other, it's going to be fun to see what impact that has, but getting smoked, I don't know if I feel that way. I'm expecting a close game here, but if either side gets smoked, then that would obviously be very notable.
Tim Salinas, Sark needs a signature win. It's next to impossible to win in Tuscaloosa, but Sark needs this. A couple other, Canelio, tuning in from South Plaza, KCMO.
Love the Plaza in KC. Love it.
Also, we had someone else, and I thought I had your name, that was listening to us in Mexico. So thank you for that. At the market in Mexico, I just lost you in the chat because it's going 50 miles an hour.
Yeah. I would like Kim Coulter, if he can, snap a picture of any blonde dudes with dreadlocks. That would be it was the weirdest thing. It was kind of a running joke because I had to sit when Oregon played Ohio State in the championship game at AT&T Stadium. I was in the auxiliary media section, which was up on that third deck level. And if I saw, I thought, oh, look, there's one. It was kind of a joke. I think I sent you guys maybe a picture typical Oregon fan, skater dude with, blonde dreadlocks and all that stuff. And then it was just every time I turn around the corner, there was another one of them. They were everywhere. It was so Oregon.
G. Marzeri, I think, is from the chat room. I'm tuned in all the way from the street market in Mexico City, Wreckham. Thank you very much for listening
your guns
to us
up. Yeah.
where you are.
Appreciate you.
All right, so Brian Etheridge, in fact, our Brian Etheridge on the diarrhea plane, and I still thought that was a fake picture because you never know anymore. Shower in bleach.
Yeah, your eyes first, and then everything else probably after that. No, yeah, that's a nightmare scenario. I'm so thankful I got to see that through the internet and not through actual firsthand experience.
Why did that happen? I mean, I understand if somebody had diarrhea, but why did everybody else start having it?
Well,
was it?
No,
food?
it wasn't.
No, it
he
wasn't that.
He just had to run up the aisle. He had an emergency and had to run up the aisle, and it just couldn't.
You spread that everybody's just oh god.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on a plane and someone does this? They have to pull the bag out.
Yeah.
That can be addictive. That could be the momentum is everybody is then gonna.
The lady sitting next to me on the way back from Hawaii had that and a panic attack simultaneously. So that was rough.
Can't wait to fly again. All sounds so fun.
But yeah, this poor guy. I mean, he in the absolute nightmare scenario, just had to book it up the aisle. Didn't make it, and then there's nothing you can you just kind of the only way out's through at that point.
He waited too
Literally.
long.
Yeah.
From J. Eric Co-Red at 22, and I hope I don't know if Jericho, excuse me, Jericho Reed 22. I'm indifferent to Alabama. I dislike the SEC, but I despise Texas. So go Bama for this week.
I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. Yeah, I think there's probably some people that are really I hate both sides. But I certainly think that if you were, I guess probably a lot of Big 12 fans, you're rooting for Alabama. I don't know for most SEC fans, probably. I don't know. What do you think, Garrett? As an LSU fan, do you have any preference whatsoever?
I took Bama. I liked overall their depth, and I think Milroe being at home. But when it comes down to it, I think it's probably indifferent from SEC fans at this point. You would want to
wait a minute.
Hate you both.
Yeah.
So I know there's hatred because Alabama's been so good.
Right.
And now it's going to be Georgia. So if you're an SEC fan, it seems like that's a conference that they hate each other, but they also understand everybody it's kind of a family, right? Because in the Big 12, Texas, OU hate each other. They don't want either one of them to win. Texas Tech doesn't want Texas to win. Baylor doesn't want Texas to win.
Have you watched Vandy claim like 10 national titles over the last decade? I mean, it's a whole thing. They all claim it together as one big family.
And that's why I'm saying it, because it seems like if Alabama wins, it just starts the creation again of they just win those games and it's good for everybody.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you would want the general consensus probably is, you want to rep for the SEC, right? But at the end of the day, I think so many people over there, especially on the West Side, are tired of seeing Bama. They're tired of Nick Saban. And if you have somebody that's able to come in and knock them off, they're probably going to enjoy it a little bit. Plus, like you said, I mean, it's going to be another conference foe for everybody next year.
Yeah, it's
and
almost
a lot of them
like
don't really have that Texas experience just yet. They don't have that hatred that everybody else has had grown over decades of experience or games or whatever. And plus, it's week 2. It's not like you're hanging a banner either way. So I think most will probably just sit back and enjoy the result. But, yeah, sure, there's definitely going to be some Big 12 fans that are hoping that Texas gets popped. And I'm sure there will be SEC fans that hope that, hey, this is the downfall of Saban. It's true. All we've been waiting on all these years. He's declining.
Somebody said that earlier.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's going to be people happy either way or pissed either way. But it's going to be a pageantry-laden game that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, Michael DeHart, it's great to have you back again. Most Big 12 fans are SEC fans in that one. Chris Cobb, Utah is in for a fight. Texas Tech beats Oregon, and the cocky fans back to Eugene with a loss.
Yeah, it's a crazy week. I think that, the SEC will get their fill of Texas and OU, whatever. And look, maybe Texas might have to be different than the SEC because the governance structure is different than 2 conferences in a row of do what we say for the longest time, because it's just not how the SEC works. But that's why it's not even on the field that people are mad. Like Texas, if you're good, you're good. That's fine. It's the fact that they ran the conference for so long that has developed the eye rolling for most of the Big 12 fans when it comes to Texas. It has nothing to really do with, Vince Young was good. Yeah, okay.
Well, you know what? I also have thought about this. And again, I listen, if Texas loses, great. But isn't that really everyone else's fault that they allowed that to happen?
Yes and no, but because
stand up to them. Nobody really, Oklahoma didn't. They both stand up to them, and some just left. That's one of the things.
Well,
I know that
Texas takes a lot of heat. Up to them.
Yeah, I know they take a lot of heat because they like to pound their chest and they like to tell you how good they are. But it's go stand up to them. And a lot of people did by winning in football over the last decade. A lot of teams had beaten them in the last decade since 2010.
Yeah. And look, it got weird because at the beginning of the Big 12, when Nebraska had to give up a concession to a team that they were inviting into their conference, it kind of set a strange precedent where you're like, wait a minute.
It was a life raft, but the Big 8 needed those teams too.
But if I was the Big 8 and Texas was coming in saying, well, this is the way we're going to do things, and you're like, wait a minute, we invited you here.
But here's the problem, and I believe this. Nebraska was running college football at that particular time. They were fantastic, and Texas was smart enough to realize there's a couple of things we need to do to make sure that we kind of take their knees out by the Prop 48, among others, which is now something that's gone in college football. And everyone else in the North, or everyone else coming in from the Big 8, probably was, let's try to see what we could do to try to derail what they're doing, because none of us are beating them at the time.
Well, yeah, and look, when things get political and you side one side against the other, sometimes you don't understand the door that you've opened. Like, okay, well, that was good. We got Nebraska on this issue. And then it set up a time where you're like, oh, well, good. Okay, we got Nebraska on this issue. They've been the big problem for us. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, oh, wait, we've created a new problem. And that Texas is essentially like, Dan Beebe calls up and goes, what do we do on this decision? And he's like, well, this is what we want to do. And then Dan Beebe comes out and essentially said what they wanted to say. And that kind of spread over time until the first Big 12 breakup, and then the second Big 12 breakup, and then finally the third Big 12 breakup was them leaving themselves. So
yeah, when you have it and you can do it and you want to flaunt it and you can, then most of the time people do that. And even when they've had a tough decade the last 10 years. When we come back, we'll hear from Taylor McCark, ESPN, on the Big 12 weekend coming up and much more. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on for great pricing, great customer service, and just overall, great repairs, whatever it is that you're looking for, whether it's getting your vehicle worked on, whether it is buying a new vehicle, whether it's buying a pre-owned vehicle, they can help you out with all of those different things over at Richard Carr. And right now, Highway 6 is a mess. They've got a ton of construction going on, but they want to make it easier to buy a new Buick GMC or Cadillac because of that. So right now, qualified buyers can save over $7,000 on 2023 GMC Sierra 1500s. You can finance for qualified buyers 0.9%. They've got dozens of Sierras on the lot, and they've got the inventory, the price, the financing, all of those things to get you in a new GMC Sierra today. Plus, military and first responders save an additional $500. They've also got trades for the best prices, so they'll have a lot full of quality pre-owned cars and trucks in stock. And again, the financing goal, 100% credit approval. They will say yes when others say no. And right now, I guess, amongst the newest offerings, they've got the Buicks, the perfect combo of first-class luxury value like no other SUV, ranked number 1 overall for new vehicle quality by J.D. Powers Buick, offering amazing value. Right now, save $5,000 on a new full-size 2023 Buick Enclave or $4,000 on a 2023 midsize Buick Envision. And again, military and first responders can save an additional $500. For 24 years in Central Texas, they built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes, cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Taylor McCarg, ESPN, with us every Thursday at 4:30. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Garrett Ross running the mothership. And Taylor, thank you for your time. So what are your thoughts, Taylor, as we look ahead? Two teams in the Big 12 took it on the noggin, and one of them was stunning, the loss by Baylor to Texas State. And then also Tech goes up to Wyoming, up 17-0. They blow a gasket and lose that game. Does that take away any of these games between Oregon and also Utah coming into the state of Texas?
Well, I certainly think that it takes some of the steam out of expectations for the season. There's no doubt. And I'll throw TCU, or you mentioned TCU. I'll throw you had Baylor, you had TCU, you had Tech. I mean, it was for that portion of the Big 12. It was a tough week one, but I think goals are still intact outside of likely making a run like TCU did last year to get to the college football playoff. Goals are still intact, certainly from a conference championship standpoint, for a New Year's Six. Those are all still out there. I thought, I watched, we were back, our game was over on Saturday. We were back at the hotel watching. I got every snap in of that Baylor Texas State game. And I think I was most surprised really there just up front. I thought Texas State up front was winning in the trenches. And that was something that really surprised me against Baylor. I did not see that coming. Texas Tech, that is a tough place to play. Going to Laramie, Wyoming, I think that was their 6th straight home opener in Wyoming that they have won. Jumping out to the lead that they did, I actually felt like if there was a team that I would expect to bounce back in a big way where they would now be in a position to upset, that would be Texas Tech. To me, it wouldn't shock me if they got a win over Oregon, just because I still think that's a really talented team. And they just sputtered so much in the second quarter, and then momentum built for Wyoming. But to your original point, yeah, it was a disappointing week for the Big 12 overall, I felt like, in week one.
Taylor, has your opinion changed greatly about Colorado after week one, or do you still, while it probably has changed maybe a little bit, is it still wait and see a little bit?
I think we have to measure expectations for everybody after week one, and that's both good and bad. There's so much knee-jerk reaction, and in this transfer portal era, we just don't know with a lot of these teams until they get out there. And some of these rosters, they've got north of 50 guys. Colorado has more than 80 new guys on their roster. Do I think they deserve to be getting some of the top 10 votes that they're getting? No, absolutely not. But are they one of the worst Power 5 teams in college football? Clearly not. So it's somewhere in the middle. I think, they're playing Nebraska this week. Nebraska looked not great on offense against Minnesota, and it's just a field goal difference. So I think we need to measure our expectations. Colorado, though, to me, the biggest thing that jumped out, that staff that Deion has brought in, we knew that, or at least I think we all expected, that he would get them up to speed. I don't think any of us expected it to be that fast. And I've got TCU this week, so I've watched that tape now a handful of times. And Colorado just being as sound as they were and playing good assignment football, that's what surprised me most. Because I think we expected the staff that Deion compiled to be a solid staff in college football, but you bring in more than 80 guys that are new on the roster. That's so difficult to do, to get kids up to speed in your system. And then the last piece, Deion clearly, or Coach Prime, I guess I should say, clearly has them playing with a lot of juice and emotion and energy. And that, to me, was the biggest difference in that game. They just looked like the team that wanted it more between TCU and Colorado.
What did you think in watching the Frogs of just the concerns that they have moving forward? I mean, that's a game, as you know, that, hey, Chandler Morris throws only one pick in the red zone, and it's a 3-point game in the end. They still had their opportunities to win, but the defense not looking great. Morris with a couple of bad mistakes, and obviously Taylor, they lost so much talent, but it is the transfer portal era, and they went pretty heavy on that. But what did you just kind of dissect from them, and what concerns you or not moving forward?
Well, I would say it's two parts. The first is they did lose a lot of talent, but they have a lot of talent coming back. There's still, if you go look at the Reese's Senior Bowl watch list, there's 14 guys on that list that are on TCU's roster right now. So there's still a bunch of dudes that they have playing for them in Fort Worth. The second piece, what I would say is most concerning right now, but that I think they could get fixed really quickly, is the lack of discipline on the defensive side of the ball. You had guys just completely blowing assignments left and right in this game. And the big one that jumped out to me was TCU just decided, for whatever reason, they weren't going to cover the running back out in the backfield in the passing game. Their running backs, Colorado's running backs, now some of this is skewed because there was a long screen pass for a touchdown, but they had well over 100 yards receiving just out of the backfield. And that's stuff that just can't happen. And I don't mean guys getting beat. I mean the running back releases and no one goes with him. And it happened consistently. So those are the things that you just wonder, man, for a team that they do have several veterans that came back, it just didn't look like that, especially on the back end. The secondary, I thought, played really poorly for TCU. Now, they're going to get an opportunity this week in a get-right game. We've got them against Nichols this week, an FCS team coming out of the Southland Conference. But they're going to be a huge favorite in this game, like they should be. They should win convincingly. But if they don't, if they look slow or sluggish at all, I think that's where you're going to start to see real concern. Now, I don't expect that. And I think they have a chance to get back on track. They've got a game after that against SMU. Like I said at the beginning, all the goals for them in terms of conference play in a New Year's Six Bowl, that's all still there. But they need to show it, especially to me, on the defensive side of the ball.
Taylor, do you think we're seeing a sea change in the ACC right now, not just with Florida State's huge statement win over LSU, but Clemson's loss to Duke, North Carolina had a really fantastic win, especially a team last year that couldn't stop anybody, looked pretty fierce on defense the other night.
I think, no doubt. I think Clemson, you're seeing what could be the making of the end of their dynasty because Dabo Swinney just doesn't believe in the transfer portal. I think it can really is as simple as that. You saw just dudes running all over the field. When I think about Florida State, that were guys that were not recruited to Florida State, that they have brought in via the portal. And that team is totally different in a short period of time. And you saw how dynamic they looked against LSU and what a difference that made. Where on the other side, Duke was the better team against Clemson. That wasn't like it was just a bunch of fluky plays. I thought the better quarterback was on the side of Duke. I thought some of the skill position players, which is shocking to say that, but Duke just looked like the more athletic team in some aspects of that game, which is, you never would have said that ever in the history of Duke football compared to Clemson, especially in the last decade. The last piece, you mentioned North Carolina. I was so impressed with them up front against South Carolina. And that's been, since Mac Brown's been back in Chapel Hill, one of the things that we've been most critical of with North Carolina is that they just haven't been that physical. But, man, they were dominant up against South Carolina and just how they got after, especially on the defensive line, got after Spencer Rattler and the number of sacks and tackles for losses. South Carolina, including sack yardage, was negative in rush yardage for the game. So I think the ACC, you're definitely seeing the tide shift. And Florida State, absolutely, I think they deserve to be in playoff contention, and they will be there all year, in my opinion, as a team that really should be a favorite out of the ACC.
What were your first impressions of the Bobby Petrino, Connor Wegman, Jimbo Fisher, offensive look that the Aggies showed last week?
A lot better than what we saw last year. And I know it was against New Mexico, but look, when you play teams that you're supposed to beat by several touchdowns, you need to do that. And I know you just asked me about A&M, and I'm going to give you a partial answer with Texas. I thought that was what was disappointing with Texas, was they didn't do that in the first half against Rice. And that's a team that they were favored clearly in a way that they should have put more out there on the offensive side of the ball that they didn't. But I thought A&M did. I thought it looked like a much more cohesive offense that also has the ability to go get explosive plays, which is what was missing from that unit last year. If you remember, they opened with Sam Houston State to open the season last year and really was a flat performance. And I thought that was a concerning sign in 2022 that came to fruition through the course of the season. They struggled on offense all year. to me, it was a good first step. And now they've got a chance to really go prove it on the road against Miami. They're road favorites. And if they go win, especially if they do it by a couple scores at Miami, now all of a sudden, as an Aggie fan, you feel like, okay, now you could buy into the hype a little bit, and you've got an offense that isn't going to be holding you back.
Taylor, McCarg again with ESPN with us on 365 Sports.
So how big is the battle for the Bayou Bucket in your estimation?
Man, I think it's huge for Rice because I was about to say we, and I'm not supposed to do that, but Rice hasn't won. I know, you almost got me, but Rice hasn't won that game since 2010. I was still playing football when we won it the last time. Now, I didn't play in that game, but it's been a long time. And Houston got a big win against UTSA last week, but they, in my opinion, I don't think they were the better team. They created 3 turnovers in the third quarter, and I thought that was the difference in the game. This is the 6th season for Mike Bloomgren at Rice, and they feel like they're finally in a position with the amount of talent they have on the team that they can turn the corner. First year in the American Conference, have the first winning season since 2014. And this would go a long way to prove to Rice fans that all those things are actually true. Even if it's a close loss, I think it still proves that they're going in the right direction and could have a good season in the American. But, man, it would be really disappointing for Rice if they come out and they don't not only win, but if they were to lose by multiple scores and it feels like a blowout, then it feels like, similar Rice teams that we've seen for the last several years. But I do think it's still important. Dana, we had this game last year, and Dana talked about how for Houston, that trophy sits outside of his office, and he reminds his players during Rice Week that they absolutely need to win this game and that this still matters, even though they've dominated the rivalry for quite a while now.
Have a great broadcast, Taylor, and thank you very much for the time when you give it to us on Thursdays. Taylor McCarg, ESPN. Thursdays here on 365 Sports. We've got kind of a wraparound here. Craig's about to do Off the Radar. We'll have Brian Howe on Colorado from the Boulder Daily Camera at just after 5. Mac Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, from a window of 5:15 to about 5:25. We'll try to get Mickey on. The NFL season's about to start, and then Paul's Top 5. All of that and more, and this is 365 Sports. Texas Beef House. .com. We put up a link earlier today in the chat room and hope you saw it. Paul pinned it, in fact, to the top with TexasBeefHouse.com with their unbelievable what they do with what their product is. It's homegrown, farm-raised right there in East Texas, Wagyu cattle. And they have the Wagyu Sampler Bundle, variety of the various hamburger products, from hamburger patties, jalapeno and cheese patties, ground beef, summer sausage, and garlic links. If you want steak, fillets, sirloin, ribeyes, and also, of course, even New York strip, they do it, and it's delicious. And I appreciate what they do at TexasBeefHouse.com. They also have the Great Divide, a total 20 pounds of mixture of hamburger patties and also ground beef. The starter grill pack, burgers, garlic sausage, fillets, strips, and also with sirloins, too. Aaron Duvall and the Duvall family have done a great job focusing on the resources of developing the best Wagyu genetics, which produces high-quality beef that they have for you. The family there has spent the past couple of decades improving the quality of the beef herd. Taste the difference with Texas Beef House. In fact, Texas Beef House, I love their slogan, "Where is the beef in Texas? Your house." When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas Wagyu, Texas raised Wagyu, from our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com. And don't forget to tell them, #SickEm10 for 10% off.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Booze
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is a premier elite life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes every week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, bar, silver sneakers, and more. If you haven't been to Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness lately, you're missing out on the improvements. New flooring in the weight room floor and locker rooms, new paint and mirrors added to the weight room and group exercise room, and many new machines have been added and arriving constantly on the weight room floor. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new ellipticals on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, Alex Box, and welcome to Nathan Roach, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. A kids club included with your membership, plus sauna, whirlpool, and tanning bed. 16 tennis courts plus a beautiful stadium court, and longtime youth tennis pro Britt Coleman and assistant junior Kenna. Adult tennis lessons and clinics with Blake, and the commitment to pickleball with 8 courts and instructor Jody Thurman. Visit the website at wacotennis.com or visit us at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
All right, welcome. It's Off the Radar here on 365 Sports. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 4:45 or so is when we have this segment to just take a look at a grab bag of stories from around sports. But good to be into football season because we have actual games to discuss. And in this segment in particular, I also mentioned from time to time some of the ratings across college football, or whenever they have more massive than their typically massive numbers in the NFL. But got our first batch of games all in ratings-wise. We told you a couple days ago is a nice number for Notre Dame. We knew that the Florida State LSU game had a monster number. Well, that was the top headliner of the week, 9.165 million viewers for LSU and Florida State. Pretty easily, almost by a couple million viewers, the top game watch-wise and average-wise in terms of this past weekend. But there's, an interesting number, too, and it's not a surprise who that was. But, when we were talking about the Pac-12, Big 12 stuff and all that, I remember hearing at one point from somebody that TV ratings didn't matter. And then that person magically talked about how Deion being in the Pac-12 could maybe improve their TV deal. Do y'all remember this?
Oh, yeah.
From the same person?
Yeah.
So they didn't matter, but then they were somehow, because of Deion's star power, going to bump the ratings, which would then cause a TV network or company to want to spend more on the Pac-12 because of Deion's ratings power. And all of that just seems so much sillier now in hindsight. But the fact of the matter is that Deion and ratings is a thing.
It is.
It is absolutely a thing. And that was evident in week number 1, 7.262 million viewers for Colorado at TCU and his first win. Nearly a couple million behind LSU and Florida State, but far and away the number 2 most watched game.
Yeah.
And 7.2, that is a healthy number, gentlemen. That is a very good draw, and we will see much more pulling numbers like that.
Yeah, the thing that George Kliavkoff got wrong about Deion Sanders is in the ratings is, yes, he's going to help the ratings for whatever school he's coaching at, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be in the Pac-12 for that long.
Right.
So why would the networks give you a deal based on a factor that is not under your control at all? It's only under Deion Sanders' control how long, and technically Colorado's, but the rest, like, you know, if Colorado wanted to fire him because he was bad, even though he was still getting ratings, it's not like George Kliavkoff could call up Colorado if they were in the Pac-12 and be like, no, it's part of the TV deal. You have to stay.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. So that's why it was a silly thing. But he, you know, if he goes to the NFL one day, those games will get good ratings if he's the coach of the freaking Lions.
Sure they will.
It doesn't, like, he is ratings. But again, if he leaves the Lions, it's not like the NFC North is going to be like, whoa, make sure he goes to the Vikings.
Yeah, I do think there's like this picture of it being perfect last weekend, and it wasn't. Like, they need a run game.
Yeah.
Like, Shedeur can't just throw for billions of yards every week. You know, there are some things that need to be cleaned up, but if they keep winning, and they're winning like that, and he's drawing eyeballs like that, like, every school in the country is going to line up to, when they have a head coaching vacancy, you would think, bring him in. I mean, I don't care who it is. You're bringing like 7+ million viewers every week, and you're winning, and you're doing it with a style that nobody else can really replicate. I mean, it's money, baby. I mean, you can see it, and you see the potential of it. And to be fair, that wasn't just George Kliavkoff that was talking about that. The person who said that the TV ratings didn't matter was just somebody who echoed a lot of what George Kliavkoff had to say. But it's just funny how that all just went in a circle. But he is a ratings draw. There's no doubt about that. Ohio State, Indiana. Ohio State, no matter who they play, is always pretty high up here. But 4.6+ million for the Buckeyes and Hoosiers in a Big Ten matchup. West Virginia, Penn State, nearly 3.5 million viewers, good enough for the 4th most watched broadcast of the weekend. Nebraska, Minnesota rounded out the top 5 with 3.492 million. So you see just the drawing power of the Big Ten and some of their brands where it's not necessarily the sexiest games, but there's just like an automatic 4 million people that just watch. If it's Indiana versus Iowa or if it's Nebraska versus Minnesota, it's like there's just that built-in big number, and then you add bigger brands to it, and you see just, you see why there's the big money TV deal, you know?
No, they do. They have big schools, some of them not as big, but they have, you know, when you look at like Wisconsin's a massive school, and then you have the Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, just those three, and whoever's matched up against them. But it'll be interesting with the number that Colorado, Nebraska get. Will it be more than Colorado, TCU because the momentum coming off, or was there so much hype over the opening game to watch what Deion can do, or is that now even a higher watch value?
Yeah, I mean, I know that like get real intricate. It'll be like the network versus, you know, the time, and like every little thing will be boiled down. I would think it'd be bigger,
So
though.
same time,
I would think it'd be
same
bigger.
network.
Yeah, because it's a bigger opponent in Nebraska than TCU, who's got a smaller fan base. I mean, they draw eyeballs, but yeah, Nebraska draws eyeballs automatically that are bigger than most programs. So yeah, I would think that that's going to be 7, 8, somewhere in there. I think there'll be a lot of attention on that. I won't go through the rest, but North Carolina, South Carolina, over 3 million, nearly 3.5. Oregon State, San Jose State, these Sunday games pulled really good numbers. And, you know, once the NFL arrives, then we won't see that. But just in general, like throw a football game on a Sunday, and if at least if it's got, you know, not necessarily some of these semi-leagues, but, you know, college football did pretty well. Oregon State, San Jose State, nothing super sexy about that, but it pulled 3.2 million viewers, so that's pretty good. Texas, the power of them, 3.2 for a game against Rice. So they automatically just get 3 million. Northwestern, Rutgers, 2.6, and then Virginia, Tennessee had 2.4+ million. So just the top 10 or so games ratings-wise. I always have fun just looking at those and kind of seeing where all the eyeballs are. But, yeah, a lot of eyeballs on Deion this past weekend, and a lot of numbers for these games coming up with such a stacked schedule. It'll be fun to unpack those as well. As far as tonight goes, you mentioned at the top of the show, but just the one game later on this evening on the ACC network, it'll be the Louisville Cardinals against Murray State. Louisville, 44-point favorites, so not expecting a barn burner here, except for if you're just solely watching Louisville, but that is headed your way tonight on the ACC network. Elsewhere, Kim Mulkey, haven't brought her name up in a while, but I have to in this case. Now the richest contract in women's basketball history after yesterday it was announced that she had agreed to a new 10-year deal with LSU worth $32 million. It must still be approved by LSU's Board of Supervisors, but had they ever not voted on something sports-related? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What? Like, they just should eliminate that step because we know they're passing it. So, yeah, a $32 million deal will be the richest when finalized in women's college basketball history. And she's, gone out and won a national championship in, quick succession. I think she's probably eyeing, what all she can accomplish over the next decade. And certainly, UConn's not bulletproof anymore. Got a long way to go to catch Gino as far as the national titles department. But you know what? In the NIL era, with what LSU's spending, the amount of attention that's suddenly on that program, which was way more than she ever got combined at Baylor, really. I mean, when Brittany Griner was here, there was a lot of attention. But there was just something different about Angel Reese and just the NIL era and all that you can do with that. And they're set up really well. So she's rewarded. And, you can't say it's not deserving because they went out and did their thing.
And LSU's going to give the NIL whatever they need when it comes to the players. It's that they're a rock band, like a rock star band.
It is strange because I really did think that Kim would retire here. I mean, before everything changed, I thought that she was like if she had won another, gone 5 years and won 2 more titles, she's got grandkids now and Kramer's playing professional baseball. I thought she might have said, you know what, that's it. I've done all I can. She'd made a bunch of money before she even left here. And then when everything changed, when, the men won and things changed here and she went off to LSU, it's, and then the rules changed as well when you got NIL and transfer portal thrown into it. It's like, well, I couldn't have been further off on that.
Oh, yeah, she's about to go on a run. She's not retiring. She's about to go on a run. Maybe try to win 7 of these in a row. You're right, Paul. I mean, it's a different ball game than when she left, and I don't think she could have predicted that either, that she would be walking into the situation that she walked into and be at the one school where it probably is the most well set up to thrive off of the NIL and all of that.
And, look, the biggest push for support of women's sports, and particularly basketball, right now that's ever happened. So there's some momentum towards supporting that sport more than there has been before. So why not ride the wave while it's there?
Yeah, no. So she gets a huge deal and, still needs 7 titles to catch Gino, which if you're coaching for another decade and you've got a star-studded lineup that they're going to have, pretty much every year with thing from here on out. I mean, they got to be probably the favorite. I don't know. Paul's the women's basketball expert, but are they the favorites again, Paul?
I think they're capable of putting out a run of 3 out of 4, something like that.
So it's possible, but Gino's still coaching too, so we'll see. And then Dawn Staley's got 2, and that was all in the talk about the contracts and where that kind of fits in. So she was probably due to get renegotiated after winning that big title. I'm not going to get too in the weeds on what happened in baseball in the state of Texas over the past few days, but the Astros, safe to say, came in and did their thing in the series with the Rangers, absolutely obliterating Texas. And this was a fun season for Rangers fans, and it all of a sudden has very much not become a fun season. The Astros now on top of the AL West, and just 1 game back are the Seattle Mariners, but there are the Rangers now 3 games back. And just an absurd series where the Astros completely dominated in every way, shape, and form, basically. But a couple days ago, the whole Jose Altuve 3 home runs in 3 innings, the first 3 innings of that ball game was absolutely absurd. I don't know if you guys realize this. I think Bob Stern mentioned this. But do you realize that Jose Altuve had 3 homers before the Rangers' number 7 hitter even had his first plate appearance?
I was watching the game. It was as if they reached inside the Rangers' heart and took their heart and whatever else is hanging down below. And just took it.
Homered in the first. Rangers went 3 up, 3 down. He homered in the second. Rangers went up 3 up, 3 down. Homered in the third. And then finally the number 7 hitter came to the plate the start of the 3rd inning. But by the time the Rangers' number 7 hitter took the plate, Jose Altuve already hit 3 home runs. So incredible run for him. He had a bunch more, obviously, in that whole series. And then yesterday they just go out and just wipe the floor with Texas again. But man alive, the Astros are really good, but this is some kind of a collapse by the Rangers here in the second half.
The Rangers have had some things happen with players, and obviously Now, Scherzer, who knows what they're going to do with him? He's having this forearm issue, but Odolis Garcia's on injured reserve now, injured list. They've lost 15 of 19 games. They're now more likely not to make the playoffs than what was 3 weeks ago, maybe winning the division with 3 really, really good teams in it. So, they're done.
Yeah.
They make the playoffs, I'll be stunned. There's games left. They'll probably lose 2 out of 3 this weekend to the A's. That's where they are. They're dead in the water. If they somehow make the playoffs, good for them.
Yeah, Paul, any thoughts on the Rangers falling apart down the stretch?
It's an absolute collapse. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, and look, they still have time to make the wild card and all that. And if Aldi healthy and Scherzer going in the playoffs, if you get through that wild card, then they can be lethal. But they have got to wake up and
get there.
Also, it's not even completely on the starters, which haven't been great lately either. Their bullpen has been atrocious from day one.
Well, they started the ball rolling, yeah.
Yeah, and so that may not change by the time the playoff starts, but you never know. Playoff baseball gets weird. So
they're a half game back in the wild card run.
They just need to get in. Like right now, their goal doesn't need to just get in.
Yep.
Just win enough to get in and stave off. But the Mariners are fantastic right now. Julio Rodriguez is never out.
Right.
It's crazy.
All right, and final note here, Mac Brown is ticked off as the NCAA has made their ruling on wide receiver Tez Walker and decided that Tez Walker, a huge addition for North Carolina, will be ineligible to play the entire season. Mac Brown saying the NCAA has failed Walker. It makes no sense. It never will. Had a big posted statement through the Carolina football account, said they're absolutely crushed to learn that his eligibility has been denied and he won't be able to play. And Mac went on to say that I don't know that I've ever been more disappointed in a person, a group of people, or an institution than I am with the NCAA right now. It's clear the NCAA is all about process, and it couldn't care less about the young people it's supposed to be supporting. Plain and simple, the NCAA has failed Tez and his family, and I've lost all faith in its ability to lead and govern our sport. And that was like the first 1/10 of his message.
No, I read it.
So he goes off, and there's obviously a lot of conversation about his double transfer and whether he should be eligible and all that. But Mac Brown, he's letting it be known that he is not a happy camper, and that's a blow for them who expected Tez Walker to be a big contributor.
Yeah, I got to make a phone call here real quick. Get our next guest on, but I will say this: look, I'm going to steal this from David Hale, who's a fantastic ESPN analyst. He said this on Twitter: 2 things can be true. The NCAA can fix the rule, but also situations like Tez Walker's you could not have messed with, and by not making this retroactive. Making it retroactive is silly because you have coaches, players, administrators that when guys like Tez Walker got in the portal and transferred to North Carolina were operating under the belief that under the set of rules that they were doing this under this timeline, that they would be allowed to do so. You passed a rule that's retroactive, something they have no control and no say over, and then you're surprised that they're appealing. It was something the NCAA didn't need to do.
It's like the last bastion of any kind of ruling they can make. And I'm not disagreeing with you that it's silly. There's a lot of different players. They got, like you said, and like Mac Brown said, players who have been in the league, been in college for 6 years and 8 years. And in this particular case, they love to throw out the mental health, and they're not listening here. It's unbelievable.
So there's a few things off the radar, but yeah, it's a tough blow for Tez Walker and Tar Heels, but Mac Brown going scorched earth and just more flames being thrown the NCAA's direction.
You ought to read his statement. It's amazing. And John Cunningham, the AD at North Carolina, came firing out as well on the Tez Walker story. It's unfortunate.
Who?
The Cunningham.
Bubba Cunningham.
Bubba Cunningham, the AD at North Carolina. We're now joined by Brian Howell. He covers Colorado for the Daily Camera in Boulder. He joins us now on 365 Sports. And, Brian, thanks for your time. Can you try to put the barometer of the hype and the excitement after the opening win against TCU? It was already there. Where is it now?
It's high. I mean, this fan base is super excited. And, that game was great, but they're excited to finally see this team in Boulder. It's been a long time since they've seen good football game in Boulder, and I don't remember a home opener being this anticipated like this one is.
Brian, did you expect to see that kind of offense so quickly? We knew that, with Sean Lewis and what he did at Kent State, that's what the offense they were going to run. But the way it clicked was, through the passing game, was kind of really amazing to me.
No, I didn't expect to see it at that level. I thought they would look good offensively, but I didn't think they would look great like they did. They were pretty phenomenal, obviously, throughout most of that game. But we had heard of the weapons they had, but I've heard it before. I've heard a lot of seasons coming into the season that, man, we got all these great receivers, running backs, and then they can't score. So I wanted to see it on the field, and it was even better than I thought it was going to look.
Brian, what have they talked about this week in terms of, obviously there's so much attention and what a big win and all that, but there is, areas for improvement. For example, the running game on offense or, defensively. What was kind of the conversation, or is it just so excited right now that that's just sort of an afterthought, at least out publicly with the media?
Yeah, it's certainly not an afterthought, within the team, and during his press conference the other day, I asked Dion, what do you have to get better at? And he immediately said, we have to stop the run. And they were not good at stopping the run on Saturday against TCU. I don't remember how many rushing yards they had, but it was well over 200. They gave up 42 points, over 500. They've got to. So that's the number one thing is they've got to stop people, or else they're not going to look like that every week.
And how much do they not only have to stop the run better, but also, even with all the numbers and the glitz and the glamour, the weapons they have, run the ball more consistently?
Yeah, they'd like to do that as well. And that's something that did not, click as much as they had hoped to on Saturday. And, a couple running backs they didn't use. Alton McCaskill, the Houston transfer, is not even healthy yet. Smoak from Kentucky, he's going to get more involved this week. So they've got some weapons there, but they've got to open up more holes in that run game.
How long before we see more of Alton McCaskill?
It sounds like he's like a couple more weeks out, so maybe not until Pac-12 play.
Brian, what were your thoughts as you saw what Travis Hunter was able to accomplish last week, and anything in your experience to be able to try and compare it to?
Not really. To see somebody play both sides of the ball like that for the entire game and to play that great, I've never seen anything like that, especially at the college level. But, he might be the best corner and the best receiver I've ever covered at Colorado. He's that good, and we saw that on display the other day.
Brian Howell, again, the Boulder Daily Camera with us. Colorado hosting Nebraska. Nebraska coming off what has been kind of who they are, not being able to hold a win late in the game and somehow throwing up on themselves. This is a rivalry that goes back a long way. They've played recently. Does Nebraska coming in for the home opener make this even more special?
Yeah, absolutely. Fans have been circling this game ever since it was scheduled several years ago. They hate Nebraska. And Carl Durrell could still be the head coach, and fans would be excited about this game because it's Nebraska. So you add in all the other elements with Coach Prime and what they did last week, and the intensity is just ratcheted up big time. And they're excited. They can't wait to beat Nebraska. They love beating Nebraska more than anybody else.
Yeah, I heard him mention it, like, yes, we hate Nebraska. And how long has it been since they last played? Before the series started again?
So they played 2018 in Lincoln and 2019 in Boulder. CU won both of those games, and then those were the only two times they've played since they both were in the Big 12 in 2010. So they played a couple times. CU's got both of them, and Buff fans like to remind them of that it's been there's memes out there. It's been like 4,000 and something days since Nebraska last beat Colorado, and CU fans would like to keep that going for sure.
Well, the first time they played after the long gap in 18, I think, was Scott Frost's first year, wasn't it? And they had the ball late, and they couldn't get a first down. In Colorado, here they go. So it's kind of like that game was no different than the last 5 years for Nebraska football. Yeah. Was there a play? Go ahead.
I think it was his first game because the previous one, they were playing like Georgia Southern or something, and got canceled because of lightning. And
That's right.
It might have been his first game.
Last thing, Brian, and we appreciate your time today. Is there somebody other than what we saw with the receivers and obviously Shedeur Sanders? Was there a player that maybe stood out a little bit more than perhaps is getting attention because of all the explosive plays they made on offense?
Yeah, I think the guy that's not getting enough attention at the end of the day is Jimmy Holland, who had 11 catches for him. At Colorado, but because of what Dylan Edwards did and Travis Hunter and Shedeur, he hasn't been talked about a whole lot, but he was phenomenal the other day.
Brian, thanks for your time. Enjoy it. I know it'll be an incredible atmosphere. Fox will have their game day show there, and then, of course, the broadcast at 11 o'clock on Fox, Nebraska and Colorado, and what a week it's been for the Buffaloes after the win in Fort Worth. When we come back, Mack Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, for the second time this week, and then later on we'll hear from Paul Catalina and his top 5, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Go to marcos.com and order whatever pizza you want. Go pick it up, have it delivered. You get discounts as well with code words that allow you to get this off, 10% off, or pizzas for $9.99 that normally might be $15.99, depending on what pizza you want. Marco's Pizza with 5 locations in the Waco area. Bob Mock is the owner, has been in the pizza business throughout his lifetime, worked for others, learned the business, and then opened up his own, the fastest growing pizza brand in the country, Marco's Pizza. 5 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, Hewitt, and also Robinson. My favorite is the pepperoni or the pepperoni and sausage magnifico. You can get what you want with what they have. If you want just pepperoni pizza, they can just top it where you have nothing but pepperoni on the top. The pepperoni magnifico is there. It's Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
During Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels, shop our great selection of brand new Ram trucks designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. Allen Samuels in Waco is the place to shop Ram trucks. Come by and see our large selection today or browse online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes. Cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links. Fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments and financial advisor Chuck Verno, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Baylor Director of Athletics Mac Rhodes joins us for a second time this week. Earlier in the week, a lot of it, the focus on the football team, the loss, and moving forward. Mac, thank you for your time. I think there's no question everybody's angry. Everyone's just like, what in the world? They don't want to wake up in the morning, and everyone's miserable. But I do think that based on just my experience of what I see or read, that you could have won 56-6, and there are people who are angry or they're upset or they don't quite understand what's happening with the game day experience. So thank you for joining us on this segment to discuss that. How much of that feedback do you actually get?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the certainly not all of it. I've got quality staff, talented staff that, handle some of it. But, my staff also knows that I want to know, particularly if there's themes, right? If there's, themes to any of the complaints, more than other things. And so those are the things that, that I want to make sure that I know and understand.
So this is just feedback from me, and not from me, but those to me. What is the story and the history? I saw some comments that the intro hype video had not changed, or what is actually the story behind that from your perspective?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I think just, simply, we've shifted our approach, in terms of the intro video to, consistently highlight the history of our program and that it's, and so because of that, it's going to lead to some redundancy. But, I think it's a similar approach. We looked at some other bigger brands, some blue bloods, so to speak, and just how they honor, their past, they honor their past players. And I know that, it's certainly important to Coach Aranda to connect the fans, but also our current players, our current student athletes to our great legacy. And so, there's a bulk, a foundation of that video that is the same. And then, we add new highlights, at the end of the video. And so again, that's been, that was our approach, and, it will continue to be our approach. And, it's, certainly similar, like I mentioned, to some other programs here, across the country.
Mac, are there complaints that people have made, do you think are valid, that you guys need to address more than others?
I think that we certainly, I think a couple things. I think one, I do think we listen. I don't think we operate with our heads in the sand. I think we take it all serious. There's certainly, context with a lot of it. I think, like one of the things that we took really serious was the on-field promotions and the number of them, and how, they can take away from game energy and, a tight production. And so, I really felt like, the game on Saturday had a really, really, tight production. And in fact, I actually had, 3 different people come up to me, different time, different place, but comment on that. We didn't have any second half on field promotions, only one recognition wasn't during a quarter break. And so, those are things like when we brought on Playfly, our new partnership with them, that was really, really important. I think that we still have some improvement when we think about, we had a couple moments in time where, the band and DJ Elusive weren't necessarily on the same page, but, I thought, we've worked really hard to play the right music and at the right time. And so those are things that we pay a lot of attention to. Quite frankly, one of the biggest complaints we'll get is, for some, the music's too loud. For some, maybe it's not enough. And so trying to find that right balance. So, those are the things that we really focused or, looked at. And again, trying to have a tighter production with just, better energy. Now, let's be, let's call it what it is. Let's be really, really honest. We need to have, or we need to play well on the field. Like there's nothing better than playing well on the field to create great energy and excitement, within the stadium.
Do you feel like after all of that, the hype video, the music, whatever, there are times, I'm completely engaged on covering the team, and during breaks or I guess timeouts, I'm doing something anyway. So I'm not experience it. I'm not there as a fan. But do you feel like if you would have, for example, you had the decision about the tailgate guys, and that infuriated a lot of people who had put money into that, and that was something that you have to deal with. But now there's a new company called Revel XP who took over for tailgate guys. And is that something that you look back on as a decision that you might look at differently down the road?
Yeah, so I'll answer that here in a second, but let me go back to, because one of the important areas too that I left out was just our students. I thought, our students showed up, there was conversation, I think, maybe not every home game last year, but certainly a handful of them, about the corners not being filled and the number of students we were running on the Baylor line. And so, that was another really big area of focus for us. And I thought our students were unbelievable against Texas State and the way they came out, and, all of that. And so, to answer your question in terms of, tailgate guys, which is now Revel XP, candidly, they need to do better. And I think it was similar in some other places across the country when we think about the transition from tailgate guys to again Revel XP. And it's our job in terms of helping them be better, holding them accountable to be better. And I mentioned it earlier. Certainly, our heads are not in the sand, and we're aware of some of the challenges that occurred, and we're busy at work daily this week working with them. So again, candidly disappointed in the execution, and our expectation is that the experience improves, and we'll always continue to evaluate that relationship.
And I know your day on a game day, I can't even imagine, but have you ever, for example, just had someone drive you over across the street to the Brazos parking area, which is where a lot of people that used to be across, which was on basically the McLean Stadium campus and around that area? It's a different animal. It really is. And it's almost like you wish you could take that and infuse it back towards where the stadium is, because that's where it used to be. Has anyone said that to you?
That's the way it used to be, or
the energy around the tailgate area. You make decisions. I know you've explained those decisions. Jovan did too. But it seems like, to me, the energy you would want around the stadium is across the street on MLK and not around where it used to be around the stadium. That a lot of times people have just migrated because of the decision-making of how the tailgate is run.
Yeah, I would say, that absolutely the energy across the street is terrific, and certainly, have driven by enough times or walked by and have seen the energy. And so, obviously hope and desire would be for that same energy to be, over, up where we have all the tailgating, up against, McLean Stadium, et cetera, where Rebel XP is. And, I thought, quite frankly, last year there were games where we had that same type of energy. And again, that's a space we have to do better. And, we want to be able to replicate that same energy, no matter where you look at and you think about, just spaces adjacent to McLean.
I know it's impossible for the athletic department to respond to any email or all emails because you might get, 20,000 or you might get 400. I don't know. But is that the best way for people to still voice their opinion, knowing that most of the time the people who voice the opinion is going to be a negative? But I had a couple of people that have told me that they don't get responses, and I know it may be impossible. How would you think is the best way for someone to voice their opinion to Baylor Athletics about, in this particular case, the game day experience?
Yeah. So we do want people's opinion. And I mean that sincerely. I don't know, how you get better without, seeking feedback, opinion. So, email, absolutely. We don't have the capacity to answer every email.
Sure,
that's just the truth of it. But I will tell you, we read every email. We take them serious. We contemplate them. They have conversation about them. So although we may not respond to all of them, and now we do respond to some of them, but although we do not respond to all of them, we read them all and take them seriously. So we want to continue to get better, continue to evolve. I thought we made great improvements in terms of just all of the in-game stuff, and thought our students were great, and we've got some work to do in some other areas. The intro video is going to be a matter of opinion and style, whether you like that style, don't like that style. And then the other piece of it is, you're trying to deal with some of the commercial breaks, and like for instance, this game against Utah here on Saturday, there's going to be an expanded commercial format. So each commercial break will be at least 3 minutes. And so, how do we handle and manage that as well? 3 minutes, is a long time to try to, keep people engaged, energized, right? All of those things.
Last thing, Mac, and I know you're busy. Appreciate your time and coming on again a second time. How close are you to any kind of uniform reveal?
Well, I mean, we announced all of our home uniforms last week, right? Most of the combinations that we displayed, we've had since the rebrand. There's 6 different, combinations. We'll continue to work with Nike. I've spoken to that relationship, and so that's where we are in terms of the uniform. Again, we wanted to do that at the beginning of the year, get that done with, right? Not have to deal with that each and every game. So, hey, the other thing too, in terms of emails, certainly email the athletic department, but if it's specific to the tailgate piece, then I certainly also recommend emailing Rebel XP directly as well.
Mac, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We'll see you Saturday.
All right. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor. I know that Tuesday I saw some responses. We put up the guest lineup, and a lot of people, I even mentioned that. If you'll recall, Paul, you weren't here, about that a lot of people wanted me to bring up the game day experience. At that specific time, I just thought there was a lot more to get to. Someone did make the comment, yeah, but you had a time to make sure you asked him about Mark Harlan, the AD at Utah. Yeah, that's who they're playing this week, and he's a part of the College Football Playoff Committee and about to be a part of the Big 12. So that was just a quick little ending part of it, but that's okay. We're not going to please everybody, and neither is Baylor. And that's at least Mac coming on today, following up on some of the game day options experience. And some, no matter what, won't like it, and some maybe at least heard a little bit. How about the tailgating part? That seemed like there's something there that maybe a little bit of, you better get your act together. I think if they just change that alone, it would change a lot of people's opinions about the game day experience.
Well, I do think that it's a decision that if they could go back and make some like tweaks to it, they would, because it was a decision made. The tailgate guys in now Revel XP was about staffing, in that they didn't have the staff to do it anymore, so they had to bring in a third-party company, and they had their game day staff that was working, for a 6 o'clock kick game. They're starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and working, till 10 o'clock, and they just didn't have the budget to bring in more people, and they didn't do that. So they said, okay, we can bring in this third-party company, which is what a lot of schools have done faced with similar issues. But when they did that, that company had certain rules that completely gutted the experience, in that you drive over, there's no car, you used to be able to park a couple of cars over there. It created, having more cars park over there is a good thing, in that it created the atmosphere of there's people over there.
There's energy. It was great.
Now,
we used to do our show from
there. It looks
there. Yeah.
so spread out.
Almost like antiseptic.
Yeah,
and also there's a lot of concerns about the legal issues, about, possibility of cars over there. And, there's probably a lot of that you're protecting yourself from too.
Obviously, but they've got to figure out a way to get the people back over in the tailgate area. And if they get the pregame experience better, then I think the game day experience will probably follow.
The pregame leads to the inside, and then your team has to perform. Otherwise, it's still going to be, okay. And so it's on the football team, too, to help create some of that experience, and he mentioned that. It's 5:30. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com is coming up next. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco. 48-foot walk-in humidor for you to find the best of brands of cigars that you want. And I'm talking about Rocky Patel, which is my favorite. Also, Arturo Fuente, Macanudo, Ashton, Padron, Cohiba, and so much more. They have CBD products, Vita Dreams, that you take gummy, depending on how much you want, or you kind of learn along the way, that allows you to perhaps just calm yourself a little bit better before you fall asleep at night, or help you maybe gain an extra 30, 45 minutes of sleep without tossing and turning. They have THE product, including there's a packet called For Bad Days. It's for those who have really deep, hurting, chronic pain. And that's something they have available also at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. All the accessories you need for, again, cigars. You have the humidor, the cutters, the lighters, the punch, what you need. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans open also on Saturdays in the Townwest Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
This is 365 Sports. It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com.
Prescott fires, caught, Lamb, touchdown.
Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys, and everybody in the NFL opening up this weekend, including the Lions and Chiefs tonight. Chiefs will be without Kelsey, their spectacular game weapon, the tight end or hybrid. Mickey, thanks for your time. All right, Cowboys open up the first game of the year. If you, no matter who the opponent was, what do you think are a couple of the, we always talk about positive, but what are a couple of things you're not so sure about no matter who they were playing this opening weekend?
Whoa. You're supposed to make me think, huh? Well, I mean, I think the obvious one, although I'm pretty sure of him, I think the rookie kicker's pretty darn good. I think he's got a lot of talent. So I'm going to eliminate that. Look, here's the deal with this team. From a starting standpoint, they don't have any holes. There's not a position that I'm sitting there going, well, I don't know. They need help there. Now, the one spot they need, and I'm thinking if that's all you need, then you're in pretty good shape. The depth on the offensive line, right? They don't have any. And unfortunately for them, and I don't know if you guys seen the injury report, but
yep.
Tyler Smith walked off with a tight hamstring on Monday, and he hasn't practiced since. Now, I watched him do rehab today, and he was doing the cords and, all that stuff, resistance stuff, really well. And I'm thinking if you got a really bad hamstring, you can't do lunges. And he was doing them. But on top of that, Tyron Smith walked off today after rolling his ankle. Now, not sure the extent of the injury, but those are the 2 spots they can at least afford to lose anybody for a season opener. And it goes back to what my worry was, is they didn't have much depth on the offensive line. Now, I don't know who in the league has depth, because no one has enough quality offensive linemen. And, the Cowboys have basically one veteran and a bunch of rookies or young guys. They're guys that have been on the practice squad but have never played. So that's been my concern all along after they lost Josh Ball, who hasn't played much, but at least he's been with the team for a couple of years. And Matt Waletzko, both of these guys on IR, that they were kind of counting on for depth. So that's my concern. I don't have any concerns about the defense. I think they're going to be pretty darn good. And I think they'll be improved to stop the run, which was their Achilles heel last year. And offensively, might be one of the best wide receiver groups they've had in quite some time. And Tony Pollard came back from his injury, surgery, I should say, and he looks awfully good. And adding Deuce Vaughn, they got a lot of speed on this offense. So, yeah, those aren't my worries. The worries are in a backup situation on the offensive line.
Mickey, do you expect to see? I'm going to say his name wrong, but Noah Igbunhine. Did I say it wrong? I said it wrong. Do you expect him to see him? Igbunagany, thank you. Do you expect to see him part of the rotation early on, or is he more of a let's see down the line?
Oh, I think he's down the line. I think he's depth. He's depth as a outside cornerback because they really didn't have another outside guy. They had a bunch of guys that can play in the slot. And so, I mean, who's he going to play for? He's not going to start in front of Stephon Gilmore. He's not going to start in front of Trayvon Diggs. I think Deron Bland's pretty much solidified in the slot. Jordan Lewis should be ready to come back in a week or so. Nashawn Wright is still battling an injury. So they needed some depth on the outside. Look, that trade they did, and I can't remember if I told you this, it was like trading a bag of peanuts for a bag of walnuts.
Yeah, that's why I was curious about it, about where he fit in, and then especially early in the season where he jumps on. So Mickey, you mentioned that you feel they'll be better against the run. Now, obviously, the focus will be on Mozzie Smith, the first-round draft pick, and the rookie. But around him, on that defensive front, the defensive tackles, Jonathan Hankins, full offseason with the Cowboys. Neville Gallimore was thought to maybe be on the bubble, but he made the team. Osa Odigizua, they really, really do like him, and it appears that it's growing. Are these not maybe more important, but kind of on the level of Mozzie Smith has to contribute as a rookie, but these guys being in that rotation and being better is also key to that? Well,
he's behind them. Okay. So your starters are going to be Jonathan Hankins and Osa Odigizua. And then we'll see if Mozzie rotates in because he hasn't lit the thing up, right from the start. And we got to remember he was the 27th pick, right? It wasn't like the number 10 pick in the draft. So, we'll see what he's able to do. You start this first game, right? And the Giants have a rookie center. Now, if Mozzie Smith, what he's supposed to be, man, I'm putting him on that rookie center and saying, just, knock the hell out of him. We aren't worried about if you're making tackles, just to kind of destroy it in the middle there. But again, he's got to earn his way. He's got to earn some snaps. I think there's assumption out there because he's the first round pick that he automatically is the starter. The way they've been playing it in practice that we get to see and from training camp, it's been Jonathan Hankins and Osa Odigizua. I love saying that name, by the way. And so, yeah, that's where they are there. And you remember last year, they didn't get Jonathan Hankins till late, and then he was injured and he missed some games. He was really helping them out when he was able to play, helping out and kind of clogging things up against the run. And the one thing that I noticed in training camp is when you put him and Mozzie Smith next to each other, that's a lot of space they're eating up in the middle. So they're hoping that Mozzie can contribute. I don't know how long it's going to take. But the guy that was the best up front was Osa. I thought he really had a really good training camp. And then they moved basically Chauncey Golston from defensive end. They've moved him inside. And then when it comes to the nickel, they're moving defensive ends inside. And you know, the plethora of defensive ends rushing on the outside. So from that standpoint, you know, those defensive tackles might be first and second down guys, but when it gets to third down, they could go with 4 defensive ends on the field.
I think sometimes when you open up against a division opponent, it could, if you lose the game, it doesn't mean much because a lot of teams, it's when you go 0-2 or 1-3, whatever those trends are from the history. But the Cowboys have had a great record against the Giants, but they've had a great record against the entire NFC East. So to me, anytime they could open up against a conference, they have dominated. No matter what Philly did last year, you do it. And I understand, Mickey, why the Giants and Cowboys would be what the network would want on a Sunday night or a Monday night game. But do you get a little bit stale with that game, that you'd like to see something more refreshing as the opening game?
Yeah, we've seen this picture show before, right?
Yep, 11 times apparently.
But you know what? The networks just can't resist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an NFC East division game. You got the New York market. You got the Cowboys, you know, countrywide market. You know, how do you get better than that unless you are going to put the 2 Super Bowl teams in a rematch or something like that? So, yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for? It's the Cowboys, the Giants, the NFC East. It's in the big city, national TV, and one thing I don't know if you guys are tennis fans, but boy, that weather could make a difference in this opener because these tennis players in the U.S. Open are suffering from the temperature and the high humidity. I've never seen more cramping up going on, and I'm not sure in tennis matches, and I've watched a lot, that I've seen guys having to change their shoes after sets because they're sweating so much.
Mickey, enjoy. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. On the verge of the season opening up here in just a little bit with Kansas City and Detroit, Patrick Mahomes and the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. Cowboys have trying to win 5 straight against the Giants. They are also trying to win their 12th time in 13 games against the Giants. They have dominated the NFC East, it seems like, for a long, long time.
And for what?
And just to get to the playoffs.
And lose.
And not get to a championship game in 30 years.
NFC East might be a little more interesting than just the Cowboys and Eagles this year. I think the Giants will be a tick up. It looked like Brian Daboll kind of had struck on something. I think they're probably another draft and free agency cycle away from real contention. And we'll see. Like, Washington, I don't know. I mean, like, they've got really good players on defense, and they've got some interesting things happening on offense, obviously. But Sam Howell's a big question mark. But I wonder if it's just nicer around the office and you might play better because it's not just a slog.
Yeah, man. I mean, Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy got along great right out of the gates. And
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I think Rivera's on his way out. They got to figure out if Hal's good enough to be the quarterback or not, or else just start the whole thing from scratch and go with the good vibes that you got. But yeah, I don't know where to really project them. But I mean, Dallas is set up well, so excited to have the NFL back as well. And Cowboys certainly, getting the hype, and I see the reasons why. It's not just all artificial.
Back-to-back 12-win years, first time since '95, which is the last time they won the Super Bowl and played in the NFC Championship game. Paul Catalina's Top 5 is coming up next.
Unite Private Networks. They are heroes to us. We had Ace came in the studio the other day while we were on the air. And I announced him as a conquering hero because we had many internet problems here with our previous provider. And it was, I'll just tell you, not fun at all. It was terrible. And look, if you're in business internet, and that's what Unite Private Networks provides, if your business goes offline, that means lost revenue. Whether you're a restaurant, whether you are an accounting firm, whatever you're doing, offline for any amount of time means lost revenue and lost productivity. Well, we don't have that anymore here at our building, and you can have that too. They provide the best-in-class private fiber networks, 98% customer retention, 98% customer satisfaction, 98% on-time installation. They sent us a contract, and we had to navigate the city a little bit. But seriously, like they said, it was going to be done by June 25th. I think it was done well before that because it was done before I went off for my wedding. So they're about 3 weeks ahead of time on that. They own 100% of their own network, so you're not sharing with anybody. We are on the network by ourselves, not sharing with anybody, and that's been huge for us. And the white glove customer experience. If you're outside the Waco market and want to see if Unite Private Networks is in your market, and they're in lots of markets around the country, like Lubbock, like San Antonio, like Little Rock, Aurora, Colorado, Denver, they're in a lot of markets. Go to UnitePrivateNetworks.com. Or if you're here locally, contact our conquering hero, Ace Wigley at 254-803-7070 or ace.wigley at upnfiber.com. UPN, Unite Private Networks. We cannot live without them here at 365 Sports.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected. Get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
It's another time to speak with Samantha Duvall from TexasBeefHouse.com, handles the marketing and someone that you will talk to a lot when you do call for the great product of the Texas-raised Wagyu beef. It's college football season, tailgating, it's a big deal. People love to put beef and pork and chicken, etc. on the grill. Let me know what you have.
We've got everything. If you've got a morning game, you can get our breakfast sausage or our bacon. You can tailgate with some breakfast tacos. If you've got an afternoon or evening game, we of course got our hamburger patties. They're half-pound patties, 4 patties to a package, and we even have jalapeno and cheese patties. They're amazing. They'll blow your mind. Just that extra flavor, not too spicy. They have a high-heat cheese so they don't melt on the grill, and our patties don't shrink up on the grill either. Anytime you order, use our code SICK'EM10 to get 10% off your order of $100 or more.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. That's Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Top 5 questions for week 2. Since I will not see you guys tomorrow, I thought we would go over this today.
All right.
Number 5, can Miami match Texas A&M's athleticism? A&M's got a lot of really good athletes. Again, the offense again, you can't. I don't know. We're gonna completely say like both these teams have fixed their problems on offense after A&M beat New Mexico and Miami beat Miami of Ohio, but. I would think that A&M, because Jimbo Fisher's been a little longer, obviously has more depth, more athleticism. They handled Miami last year, and they didn't really handle anybody else, but Miami in particular, they really punched in the mouth in Kyle Field. I wonder how much different that is year over year to this year, but, Mario Cristobal feels better about the team he has this year, so we'll see, but I think that's going to be the biggest problem for the Canes on Saturday is, do they have the depth to match A&M right now?
Yeah, I don't know. A&M looked really good. I didn't see much of Miami, but I thought the Aggies played pretty dang well. I mean, they're going to have some stars on defense, but they got some playmakers on offense, especially with Weigman sleeping around like he did. So, that's going to be, obviously a big question heading in, and somebody's going to be down in the dumps after this game one way or the other. I mean, both teams, feel like they need to be rising or are rising, and somebody's taking their first loss regardless. So, it's going to be a bummer for whoever's on the receiving end. I'm going to say that's Miami right now. I know a lot's been made about, like, them trying to push tickets here and get that bad boy sold out with, like, promotions and stuff. But I'd expect that, A&M's going to, look good, and excited to see more of the Bobby Petrino-led offense because it started off with a bang.
Yeah, Miami, look, if they can be rock stars again, they'll sell tickets. But that, right. They set a standard, that after 2001 they haven't met. And then the fans have said, look, that's the standard that we expect if you want us to buy tickets every week. So it's unfortunate for them that they're not in a place like Ames or College Station or Lincoln where the game is the thing to do. But, best of luck to them on that. Number 4, can Baylor fix the offensive line in a week?
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, you could switch out a couple of players. You could move somebody from tackle to guard to help strengthen up. I don't know how you fix it in 1 week.
I mean, there's one player I'm thinking of in particular. I'm not going to out or anything, but it's I've been hearing the same story about just needs to develop for 3 seasons now. Mm-hmm. He's not going to develop, guys. Mm-hmm. He's not going to at this point. If you're still saying the same thing from year 1, 2 years later. I mean, it's so, that's supposed to be one of their big players, and it clearly hasn't panned out. You can kind of go up and down the line. I mean, I feel for the guys. They lost a lot of talent. They lost a lot of, guys who had come back to start again, a lot of experience. And it was a very up and down year last year, even with all those guys back. So then you think, well, maybe they'll bounce back, but they have so much less experience now, even with the Barrington brothers coming in. And based on what we saw in week 1, I mean, sure, if they're playing SFA this week, but they're playing Utah. So no, I don't see a huge bounce back this week. And can they fix the O-line? I mean, to get it to the point where it's like a championship caliber line that can allow Sawyer Robertson to do what he wants and think, I'm having a hard time seeing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm having a hard time seeing it.
Yeah. Number 3, will Tech be able to trade blows with Oregon? Because like I said before, guys, I think that's what this game is going to be. It's going to be back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But can Tech continue to do that and then be in a position at the end of the game where they get to strike that final blow?
I think they can. I think they can trade blows with them. Eventually, I do think that they can put up points no matter what happened in Wyoming.
I mean, they could definitely put up points. I mean, the scoring wasn't necessarily the problem against Wyoming. So it wasn't like they've scored 14 points and lost, a close game like that. It was double overtime. I mean, they can score, but can they get the stops and that? I mean, I think that's the key. Whoever wins this game is whoever's defense probably plays better. But yeah, they can absolutely trade blows with Oregon. But just for how long? Can they do it the length of the game? Mm-hmm. I don't know enough right now to know that because we've seen such a small sample size.
It's all about if you get a score. Let's say you score. They score. You get it back. You don't. They score. And then you can't have one of you can't lose serve more than maybe once.
You can't do what you did last week where you get out to a huge start and everything's clicking on all cylinders and then midway into the game you're completely falling off the map and you're unable to keep it up because they got off to a hot start and they just faded and they allowed Wyoming to climb into the game and feel like, oh, we got a chance to keep it close. And then you saw what ended up happening. But, I mean, that started off like it was going to be 58-14, and they were just going to blow them out. But they got to be able to sustain it.
I quit watching it or following it because it was that
17
way.
to nothing.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, that's how it's going to be. And then went home, went to bed after the postgame show, woke up and saw the text that you guys sent and was like, what?
Yeah. I got home and turned it on, and you're right. They were lining up for 2.
Yeah. Number 2, does Tulane have enough depth to hang with Ole Miss? I think this is going to be one of those games, especially because you've got a really good quarterback, a really experienced team, that Tulane will be able to, kind of, bob and weave a little bit, so to speak, for a while. I think Ole Miss probably just too good. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to, be a problem for everybody that they play. Also, Willie Fritz and Lane Kiffin could not be too different, more different as coaches and personalities. But I'm very curious. Like, I think it's great that Ole Miss is going into Tulane to play this game. I think it's great that Tech went into Wyoming to play a game. I wish more of that stuff would happen and not get, drilled down into we don't want to go to your place.
No, we want to go to Las Vegas and have it at the Raider Stadium.
Yeah. Go play college games in college stadiums. Like, look, Florida State, LSU makes sense in Orlando. Like, that's huge. Like, it made sense. But, doing all these other, the less, neutral site games in the first part of the season, the better for me. I hope more of this happens. Probably won't because that's, a cool thing. But I do think this game's going to be interesting, but I think Ole Miss probably has too much.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't mind those games every so often, but I don't think that always needs to be the case, especially early in the season. But that's why you have the games partially, right? Because you have the big setup for it. But, yeah, I mean, Tulane's got a really salty team. I know Ole Miss is heavy favorites at this point. But, I don't know about the depth. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be cool to see Tulane at home welcoming in, Kiffin and the Rebs. And I just feel like there's going to be a lot of cool buzz surrounding this game. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to rule them out from having an opportunity, but I don't know about the depth piece as far as this matchup goes.
Yeah. And number 1, will Texas break through? This is, if they win this game, that's a breakthrough moment for them. Will they do it? And, it's a daunting task to go into Bryant-Denny, but this could be for Sark a watershed moment for his tenure there.
Tim said in the chat room, he needs a signature win. Well, this would be like a John Hancock, right?
It's going to be amazing when they beat Bama and then 2 weeks later lose to 1-2 Baylor in Waco. No, will they? No, I'm picking Bama in this game. I think it's going to be an excellent game, though. I think close to, not like necessarily the way that last year played out, 20-19 or whatever, but I do think it's going to be a close ball game. I think they absolutely have a chance. Gun to my head, though, I'll lean Alabama, but I absolutely think Texas has a chance. They got to play cleaner than they did last week, though. I mean, the defense was good, but the offense kind of just didn't finish well for a lot of that game. The third quarter, they exploded, and that, created some separation. They kind of went about their business. But, that defense against Jalen Milroe, and he's going to have to, be better and bigger and all that will be a great matchup. And then, Ewers and that offense that's just loaded with weapons everywhere. Can the offensive line protect him? Can they be better? I think those are kind of the major questions coming into this game. But will they? No. Can they? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it's just Milroe sometimes doesn't protect the football. So maybe early on, if he coughs it up or whatever. What a game it was last year. It really was. And that was with Alabama jumping out to a 10-3 lead when the kid from Aledo went 81 yards or whatever.
Chase McClellan.
Yeah, and it was a heck of a game. And Texas has the weapons. Alabama's got a couple of players dinged up in the secondary. Should be fun to watch. Garrett, great job. Thank you very much. Owen was here. Jack McKenzie was here. Emery Winter and Levi Caraway. Don't forget tonight at 10:30, 365 Sports Tonight on the CW. Paul's back tomorrow at 3 o'clock right here with the show. Craig and I will be down in Belton at Mary Hardin Baylor at Crew Stadium for a midway football game against number 5 ranked Vandergrift. For Paul and Craig, I'm David Smoak. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do, and thanks to our sponsors. Good night, 365 Sports.